That is where we find Amanda Placencia giving us a preview of what you're looking at there. Since very early in the morning, those families have been seeing conditions.
Yes, Shelley, we're feeling a bit of the wind right now. Even though we're inland in Homestead, I'm starting to feel some of that wind and a bit of that rain coming down now as well. And we did have some intermittent cell phone service from our last report, so I'm actually going to get into our news unit to show you what we're seeing right now. We are along Campbell Drive and 162nd Avenue in Homestead. Now, we just got off the Turnpike southbound, so I got Joey out here showing you the roads. This is our photographer, and I'm behind the wheel right now, so bear with us as we get on this road here. This is Campbell Drive. We're waiting to cross. A few people out here, which you shouldn't be out here because the roads are starting to get slick. You know, this is just the beginning of what we're experiencing from those outer bands, you know, and we don't want to see traffic out here again because you want to be safe. So like some of those areas here, like in Homestead, you can see to the right, we got some boarded up homes and some businesses as well. And to the left here, let's see what we got up on the left. Actually, you see in that median, there's you can pan to the left, Joey, we have some small trees down, you know, a small few cracks because of those winds. I know Adam Berg earlier was talking about, you know, some canceled tornado warnings. So a lot of factors in these unexpected conditions that should keep you and your families indoors right now. You know, still you see a bit of those palm fronds on the ground, some tree branches. So don't be out here as, you know, the meteorologists have been telling you, we are not 100% in the clear yet, you know, and there's still those slick road conditions. And right now it's kind of raining, but we've seen periods where it gets quiet and then it starts dumping that rain again. And we have checked our weather apps and every so often there's lightning nearby. So a lot of factors at play here. And, you know, as you can still see, this is Homestead as I'm panning around with our photographer. You also got to watch out with those winds, that calls for some down power lines. So you don't want to be out in these conditions driving along. You know, the traffic, I think the governor said earlier, you know, if you don't have to be out in here on the road, just don't. And I'm going to pull over right now just to kind of show you a little bit more. Bear with me for a moment. We're driving here along. We're actually near Harris Field. So these are kind of the conditions that we're seeing. You know, conserve your fuel and gas. Don't be out here if you don't. We're roaming, driving around safely for you. So let us be your eyes and ears. You know, watch us and let us be out here. Just don't go outside unless you have to. You know, you really don't need to be out here. So I'm going to send it back to you guys in the studio. I'm here live in Homestead. I'll keep out here. Amanda Placencia, NBC6 News.
Amanda, thank you so much for that report. And right now, this is video from earlier this morning. It's 460 inmates from the main jail facility on Stock Island down in Monroe County moved to safer locations on the mainland here in Florida. Now, although the main detention facility is a Category 5 rated building, the sheriff there felt it was expedient to make the move given the change in the path of Irma, which now appears, of course, to bring the powerful storm directly over Key West or the lower Keys. The hosting facility is Palm Beach, and we'll see what happens. So those folks have been moved, and it seems like the entire state is on the move because of Irma, trying to get out of her way, and she keeps changing her mind as to where she wants to leave her calling card.
A fickle thing. And if you were with us very early this morning, you saw Julia Bagg actually following that escort there as all the motorcade and all the officers were being led away with those inmates. So we got some new information here into our newsroom. Broward County officials have installed this curfew here. You're looking at it for the entire county. We're being told that that curfew will go into effect 4 o'clock this afternoon, in place until further notice. Again, this is for the entire county in an attempt to keep everybody safe, so no one is allowed to be out on the roads unless it's an authorized vehicle. And of course, we are checking with other counties. We are told that Palm Beach County is 3 p.m. Miami-Dade, we're still waiting to hear from authorities there.
And right now, we want to give you a live picture from the Miccosukee Indian Reservation and Resort. And you see there that camera is shaking a bit because the winds are picking up. They've got gray skies out there, and it looks like a little bit of rain. It seems like the roads there are wet, and we've been seeing those feeder bands coming in periodically on First Alert Doppler 6000. Of course, we'll have our team of meteorologists update you on the latest on Irma in just a little bit. We'll be right back. You'll want to stay with us.
Get ready. The new Rooms to Go Superstore opens Saturday, September 16th in Fort Lauderdale. Don't miss the Rooms to Go grand opening celebration starting Saturday, September 16th in Fort Lauderdale.
I've heard it over and over. Why don't you just eat less?
Ever think about exercise?
You have no willpower.
We know it doesn't work that way. Obesity is a real medical condition that can be treated with a kind of weight loss surgery called gastric sleeve.
I'm ready now.
For the gastric sleeve.
I'm ready to be healthy.
Learn more about gastric sleeve surgery at Jackson Health System. Miracles made daily.
Hurricane Irma creates a dangerous tornado threat. NBC6 has you covered with live first alert Doppler 6000. Our technology can tell us if you need to take cover 6 minutes faster than anyone else. Trust NBC6 to keep you and your family safe during the storm.
I've been trying to prepare for this day. I'm still not ready. The reason I'm telling you this is that there will be moments in your life that you'll never be ready for. Your little girl getting married being one of them.
If the power goes out, NBC6 has you covered. Download the NBC6 News and Weather app to track Hurricane Irma. Protect you and your family with the most accurate forecast. Updates all day on the app. NBC6 First Alert Weather, keeping you safe.
Well, welcome back, everyone. We've been telling you that we're going to probably go under curfew, well, I should say, for certainty at 4 p.m. Broward County is going to demand everybody get off the street, and it's really for public safety so no one is hurt if they're down power lines or if there are trees in the road or if stop signs go down or lights go out. Usually it seems like we would do that after the event, but they are going ahead of the event, and in just a little bit, we're going to go to Broward EOC so they can give us more details from Mayor Barbara Sharif on exactly their thinking on this. But again, it's going to start at 4 p.m. and there's the mayor right there standing at the podium about to talk. We'll tune in as soon as she starts to talk. I've been texting with her, and so she just told me that they were going to do a news conference. So they're going to be announcing that it's official. 4 p.m. They want everybody off the streets for their own safety, and you'll be off the streets and off the roads until further notice.
And we know that Palm Beach County has a very similar thing in place. At 3 p.m., they're going to start. It's kind of surprising that theirs is even earlier than Broward County, and we're still waiting to hear from Miami-Dade. Of course, Monroe County, no one should be there in that area. So Barbara Sharif, and she is standing by. They're all setting up there. Also, the sheriff's office is putting this in place, too. They're going to be enforcing this heavily. Trina.
Yeah, and you know what? One thing while we're waiting on this news conference, Uber is suspending all rides. The ride-sharing service is suspending all rides, all Uber rides as of noon today in Miami. So the entire Miami-Dade County, I would assume, they said Miami area. Well, I think it's Miami-Dade County. No more Uber rides. So as of noon, you cannot get a ride by Uber. So do keep that in mind and make provisions for you to get around. And again, in Broward County, you need to do that before 4 p.m. It looks like the mayor is speaking right now. Let's listen in.
For today, Broward has determined that it is necessary to start a 4 p.m. curfew effective today for all residents in Broward County. At 4 o'clock today, we will be enforcing a curfew due to the tropical storm force winds that will begin to move into our area starting 2 p.m. At 2 p.m., the winds will be between 40 to 73 miles per hour. At 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., they will start to increase and will get to somewhere in the neighborhood of 74 up to 100 miles per hour. This includes rain. At this time, we're expecting 10 to 15 inches of rain and a storm surge of 2 to 4 feet. Broward County, we are urging you to stay off the road. Our essential personnel will not be responding to 911 calls after winds reach 45 miles per hour. At 4 p.m., our Broward Sheriff's Office and all of our law enforcement will be working to ensure that the streets are clear and that people are sheltered safely within their homes or at shelters. We thank you in advance for your cooperation. At this time, I will take any questions from the media. Are there any questions?
What are consequences if someone's on the road past this curfew?
It's not about consequences as much as it's about safety and preventing death. So if they're going to take that chance to be on the road, we're going to try to enforce and make sure that they get to the safest place when we see them and find them. Any other questions?
So the practical impact of this basically is just if you call for help after that time, the emergency officials won't be able to get to you. Is that right?
The practical impact
Mayor
of
Barbara
enforcing
Sharif,
the curfew.
she's telling us that 4 p.m. curfew for all of Broward County will go into effect, and basically because they're expecting much stronger winds, tropical storm force winds, and of course they say their personnel, emergency personnel, are off the streets once those winds reach 45 miles per hour. So that's why they don't want people out there, and they are not going to rescue you if you get in trouble.
Right. Right, and they're saying it's not even about enforcement, it's more about your own safety and your own well-being, which should be our priority, of course.
Yeah, I mean, they say they want to prevent deaths, so that's the important thing, and it could be very, very dangerous out there as conditions start to go downhill. And let's get a better handle on when that's going to happen. Let's check in with meteorologist Adam Berg right now. Hi, Adam.
Hey there, and since, of course, we're expecting the worst conditions to be across the Keys, I want to hit on some of those areas first here. Hurricane warning, storm surge warning. This is obviously what we're dealing with right now. Tropical storm force winds have already arrived. I've been showing 50, 60 mile per hour wind gusts in a lot of these areas already. Sunday peak gusts, some of these areas could be 181. No doubt about it. Even though the hurricane has sustained winds much lower than that, you will get occasional gusts, okay? So this is what we're thinking for Key West. This is why it's absolutely necessary. If you haven't done it yet, get out of there if you can. If you're watching, 13 to 15 inches of rain in all likelihood as well. So imagine storm surge of, 5, 10, 12 feet, 13 to 15 inches of rain, and then obviously some very damaging winds. That's Key West. Marathon is going to be a place in the potential line of fire as well. Hurricane warning, storm surge warning. That means both are likely. And tropical storm force winds have arrived now. Sunday peak gusts possibly about 171. All depends on the exact location of that center of circulation. And we're going to be getting that new advisory, which will have some of that information along with the new forecast track any moment. Sometimes it comes in 20, 30 minutes early. Sometimes, like now, we're going to be down to the wire on this one, but we should have that new advisory by 11 o'clock. 17 to 19 inches of rainfall. So these are some areas that are going to get hit hard down there. Just a quick update, just kind of going across Miami-Dade County. Hurricane warning, storm surge warning here. Tropical storm force winds arriving early this afternoon. Sustained tropical storm force winds, that is. We've already seen 50-plus miles per hour in Miami as well as Virginia Key. Okay, there was the Children's Museum there in West Miami that saw winds gusting into the 50s already. Sunday peak gusts, some of us 80 to 90 miles per hour. Down big time from what we were worried about a couple days ago where we were thinking, could we be 130? I mean, so that's certainly some improvement. Still some issues out there for sure. 11 to 14 inches of rain. And things get way worse once you get closer to the coast, especially across Miami-Dade County. The farther north we go, in Broward, storm surge will be a little bit less of an issue, except for the immediate coast where some people could still see 2, 3, 4 feet of storm surge out there. Tropical storm force warnings, or I should say winds, arriving a little later, 6 to 9 p.m. time frame for that. Sunday peak gusts, 80 to 90. All depends on your location. Farther west you go, better chance of seeing those higher gusts. Farther, well, except for, of course, right on the water, where sometimes you see some pretty wild gusts too. So 80 to 90 miles per hour at the range. 11 to 12 inches of rain possible. So a foot of rain plus some coastal flooding. We've been talking about the storm surge. I can't tweet enough of these maps to make people happy here. There just aren't enough of these maps to tweet. This is what everyone is wondering about. Some improvement, for sure, across Broward County. We're talking about, yes?
125, Cat 3, latest advisory.
125, brand new advisory in, 125 mile per hour sustained winds now with Irma, and that makes it a Cat 3. So that's the deal. And I don't know if you guys are able to bring that up. Or, Steve, if you let me know as soon as you're ready, you can. Okay, there we go. So here we are. Winds at 125 miles per hour right now. Still continuing to move west at 9 miles per hour. So that's a little slower speed. But the fact that we still have that west track, that tells me that it's still going to be interacting with the coastline here. And I'm going to have Steve take it away in a moment when he is ready. We'll talk about this for a few more moments. Then we'll get back to some of my storm surge stuff, and then as soon as Steve is ready, he's going to show that new forecast track. So I'm just going to finish with this here. Again, zoomed in look. There's the eye interacting with the northern coast of Cuba, and there is actually that track. And here we go. Once again, it looks like it's even a little farther west. So this is not surprising to see based on the trends we've been looking at. But farther west, and maybe we can zoom right on in here, and maybe for a moment, if we could see, just get right on top of where we are right around Sunday 8 a.m. And there you go. So we're talking about maybe just east of Key West. Marathon sits in through here. So it is a little bit farther to the west right now. Key West, Marathon, you guys are going to certainly be taking it on the chin. And then the huge story is going to be what's going on here with the west coast of Florida. Look at Fort Myers, possible direct hit with a Category 4, 140-mile-per-hour winds with that, because that's a serious deal. And then surge is going to be a problem too. So when it's down here, by the way, Sunday 8 a.m., winds pulling this way. So that's a big storm surge wind for us, a big problem there, especially Miami-Dade County, especially south of Coral Gables in the Pinecrest, Cutler Bay area. So we go from Sunday 8 a.m. and then we move up Sunday 8 p.m. It's right on top of Fort Myers, actually beginning to flirt with Sarasota and Tampa in these areas. Winds are going to be out of the east here, so that's not a storm surge problem at all for places like Fort Myers or Tampa, but it will begin to be a problem here for Fort Myers once we go Sunday 8 p.m. and then several hours later, and then especially once we go into Monday morning. I should say late Sunday into Monday morning, you're going to have that west wind coming into a lot of these locations, pushing that ocean water in from the west. I know it's a lot to wrap your brain around. The timing is everything. The coast is everything, depending on what side of the coast you're on as far as when you get the strongest winds, when the storm surge is an issue. Storm surge, the biggest killer with these sorts of systems. So this is why I'm trying to tweet out all those maps. I'll continue to do it. I'm even starting to tweet out and put them on my Facebook page. You can follow me on Facebook as well. I'm putting those images out. Looks like we just lost power here for a second. We have a generator, so I'll just keep talking. There we go. We have generator power that kicks in as well. So I'm going to be tweeting out what's going on the West Coast as well, because many of you that live in South Florida have evacuated to Fort Myers or Tampa or some of these areas, and you want to know, heck, what's the storm surge going to do for me now? Do I need to move? You know, it gets really tricky, you know, as far as telling people what to do here. You know, here's the hurricane. I think the best thing to do is probably head north if you have an opportunity at this time, because heading southbound, you're going to start getting into these rain bands and these tropical storm force winds, and that's not going to be a very safe thing to do either. So I feel more comfortable heading north than heading south. I mean, it is a possibility if you're in Fort Myers, not Tampa, Fort Myers, possibly to make that beeline over to maybe Broward County, where, yeah, heck, you could be in better shape there incrementally, you know, versus a Category 4 hurricane going overhead. But heading north is probably the safest thing to do. I'd hate for you to head south and you can get caught in some of these, you know, 50, 60 mile per hour wind gusts, and then your car blows off the road just because you were trying to race back here to Broward County, where inland Broward County may absolutely and likely will fare better than places like Fort Myers. Let's get back to the storm surge potential here. This is all you guys want to know about, and I understand. And there are people living in Broward County that want to know how we looking right now for us. Well, here's Deerfield Beach. And I've been tweeting a lot of these out. Maybe you don't follow me on Twitter or Facebook. I'll show you how some of these work right now. So in Deerfield Beach area, we're just talking about maybe 3/4 of a mile of coastal flooding, storm surge flooding here from ocean water, not rainfall. We got rainfall coming too. So that's not a horrible thing. If you're at Deerfield Beach and you're more than a mile inland, you'll probably see no storm surge. Farther south we go. Here's Pompano Beach. Same deal. I'm trying to hit all the big communities. Again, we're right around a mile. If you're a mile inland or more, you're not going to see any storm surge in these areas. Now we go farther to the south, Lauderdale by the Sea. It's going to be about the same thing here. Right around a mile inland is what we're talking about. And by the way, the blue shading here, this is going to be less than 3 feet. No doubt about it across some of these areas. There's Oakland Park as well. You're fine. I mean, if you're in downtown Oakland Park here, you're good, 2, 3, 4 miles inland. We're talking about storm surge more like a mile inland. So you're going to be okay across some of these spots. There's downtown Fort Lauderdale. If you know about where your proximity is from the coastline, if you're more than a mile inland, you're good. And even still, storm surge here, not going to be catastrophic. Things get a little different as we head a little farther south. Not bad here. This is Interstate 95 hitting 595. There's Fort Lauderdale Airport. Dania Beach sits just under here. Let's see if we can get to Dania Beach. There we go. You're fine as well. We're probably talking about storm surge maybe making it in 9/10 of a mile, something like that. There's Hollywood. I had someone tweeting me the other day about 5 miles inland from the coast. You were good even at our worst. We're still thinking maybe storm surge getting into about a mile. So really most of these Broward locations, we're talking about storm surge 1 to 2 feet going inland maybe about a mile or so. There's north of Miami Beach. I'm just going to head on a little bit farther to the south. There's north of Miami. There's Biscayne Bay. We're going to see in blue here on Miami Beach a few feet of coastal flooding. And then as we work farther to the south, you start getting into the green now again. This is 5 to 8. This is where it gets a little bit worse. And, you know, some of these canals and inlets here are going to overflow a little bit in some of these areas, 5 to 8 feet higher than they would normally be. And let's kind of work into some of the really rough stuff here. Let's go a little farther to the south. Coral Gables, you know, may get some spotty flooding in through some of here. You know, a lot of these areas kind of feed right into the ocean, so you get water level rise from the ocean and it kind of feeds in to some of the tributaries here. Let's show you, well, Pinecrest was up there. It's at the top of the map, but I'm going to try and go ahead and show you. We're talking about 2 to 3 miles inland for places like Pinecrest. So I think you're going to be okay up there. Really more concerned about, and we are losing power intermittently here, folks, so just kind of hang in there with us. There's Palmetto Bay, probably talking about 1.8 miles. So if you're in Palmetto Bay, and maybe you're on the south side of Palmetto Bay, maybe it kind of curves up a little bit, and it may make it all the way to US 1 in these areas, about 2.5 miles, 1.8 to 2.5 miles of storm surge there. I know maybe you're exhausted watching me do this, but I know a lot of people want to know. Let's get to the areas that are going to be experiencing a little more action. There's Cutler Bay. And in some of these areas, we could be talking about water getting in, you know, worst case scenario, 4 miles inland. Farther north you go in Cutler Bay, if you're on the northern edge, probably talking about maybe a mile inland, something like that. Let's go a little bit farther to the south. There's Leisure City. These are going to be some of the areas with that east wind where we're a little more prone to flooding, maybe 2-3 miles inland, maybe at its worst if you're way on the southeastern side of town here, maybe, you know, 4 or 5 miles, but, you know, the worst of it's going to be more like 2 to 3 miles away from the coast with the coastal flooding. Big issues as well across the Upper Keys. The green shading here, easily 5 to 8 feet of storm surge. We're going to be looking, it doesn't really do it justice because these islands get kind of tiny. We're easily talking 10 feet of storm surge across the Keys. Also looking at storm surge here for Key West. Somewhere between Key West and Marathon is where we're expecting this landfall. I want to kind of zoom over to the west coast of Florida. Bright red. We're talking over 10 feet of storm surge. So now all of a sudden, storm surge looking worse on the west coast of Florida. We're going to be getting a southeast flow, a south to southeast flow in through here. So if you're watching maybe from the Naples area, maybe using your app, we're talking about storm surge coming in. Look at that. Maybe 4 miles inland in and around Naples, Bonita Springs. Probably talking about at times in some of these areas, you know, maybe 5, 6 miles, 7 miles in some of these spots with some of that storm surge working in there. So here's Fort Myers. And obviously the waterways kind of curl all the way back in through here. So a lot of these areas in and around Fort Myers could be looking at storm surge, Steve, over 10 feet. So there you go. I kind of made it around the entire coastline based on the latest data. Storm surge, this is some of the most important stuff when it comes to inland flooding and loss of life. So I know everybody wants to know. We had to share that with the folks.
Yeah, Adam, I think storm surge is going to end up being the story for the greater Miami-Fort Lauderdale area because there is, at this point, no chance of the eye making a direct landfall in Miami or Fort Lauderdale. The question right now is just how far west does the storm go? So our latest update, and this is as of just a few minutes ago, winds of 125 miles per hour. That means for the first time we can say this storm is now a Category 3. Still moving to the west at 9 miles per hour. It is that westerly movement that put the storm right over the northern coast of Cuba and helped create some friction, which has helped lower the amount of speed we've got the center of that storm. Storm has still not made that right-hand turn, but we are very confident that will happen. So here is the latest track from the National Hurricane Center. Adam showed you this briefly, but I want to zoom in now and show you where the storm is going to be at each point. So right now we're at Category 3. The National Hurricane Center still thinks this storm has a chance to get a little bit stronger over the warmer waters once it gets away from Cuba and makes that right-hand turn back to Category 4. So this is our Key West landfall, if this center track holds. We're talking about a storm that makes landfall about 6 to 8 a.m. tomorrow morning with winds of 140 miles per hour. We still have that cone of uncertainty that no longer includes Metro, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, most of Miami-Dade and Broward counties now east of the cone. So basically at this point, the question is how close to us does it get? Remember, this is the track for the eye, the center of the storm. This is such a big storm. We get the effects here. Also, I've heard a lot of people, and certainly gotten some questions about it, talk talking about, hey, is the worst behind us? This storm has not made the right-hand turn yet. We are still getting kind of that flow like this. As soon as the storm comes up like this, all that water is going to start coming up our way in the form of rain and the wind, which will start pushing in the water toward Miami. Let's go a little bit farther to the north, and you can see the storm is right around Tampa sometime Sunday night, 8 p.m. to Monday morning, 8 a.m. Tampa, of course, right there. Still a Category 3 or 4. We are going to see some pretty big effects in Orlando, but Orlando in a lot better spot than the immediate West Coast, because first, as the storm is coming up, some of that water, believe it or not, is getting pushed out. For the same reason the water here is getting pushed in. These storms are big areas of low pressure with that counterclockwise circulation. So as the storm approaches, we get the water pushed in to our part of the country. On the other side of the state, it's when the storm passes to the north that they get on the backside and the water gets pushed in. So for Tampa and Naples, the worst storm surge is going to happen as the storm is passing to the north. For us, the worst storm surge happens before the storm actually crosses. For Key West, direct hit, it's before, during, and after. They're getting storm surge from every direction. By the way, it still looks like this storm wants to head up toward Atlanta as possibly a tropical storm. This is its position Thursday at 7 a.m. and it's just outside of Atlanta now. Looks like it's going to meander here somewhere around Illinois or Missouri or maybe Tennessee or Kentucky. And it's still just a big rainstorm at that point. But you can see still a hurricane as it's tracking up the entire West Coast. And as it's doing that, such a big storm that there could be a point where almost every square inch of Florida has some part of this storm. All right, we started to show you this graphic yesterday. And now that we're a little bit closer to the event, it's much easier to understand what the colors mean. Yellow, tropical storm force winds, 39 or higher. Orange, destructive winds, 58 or higher. Hurricane winds, 74 or higher. By the way, these are sustained winds. You can get gusts a little higher than that. So at 12 p.m., the yellow, now completely covering the Keys, which it is actually doing right now. The latest numbers out of Marathon show tropical storm force gusts, at least at this point. And you can see Miami and south, we're in the tropical storm force winds. That's going to move on into the entire area so that by 6 p.m., Broward, Miami-Dade counties seeing the tropical storm force winds of 39 plus. Key West, all the way up to Key Largo, seeing the destructive winds of 58 plus, hurricane winds just offshore. And watch what happens as we let this roll to 12 a.m., so midnight tonight into tomorrow morning. Everyone at least tropical storm force winds. We're starting to see the destructive winds get into southern Miami-Dade County. That's why we're telling you this storm doesn't need to be here for us to get the types of winds that knock out power and could cause major problems. And by the way, all of these winds are coming up like this, pushing in the water. It's about midnight. We've got a high tide. So that could be the first big one. And then lunchtime tomorrow, we've got another high tide. By this point, destructive to hurricane force winds now, Key West to Marathon to just south of Key Largo. Let's advance to 6 more hours to 6 a.m. Destructive winds for pretty much our entire viewing area. So tomorrow, 6 a.m., this is going to be our bullseye up till about 12 p.m. Notice the orange pretty much covering all of Miami and Fort Lauderdale. Hurricane force winds have been ongoing for 6 hours at this point in the Keys, and they're not going to be shutting off anytime soon. They still have to get on the backside. Question right now is, does the eye go right over Key West? Do they get that first northern eye or eye wall, and then the eye itself, which is calm weather, and then the backside of the eye? And the way it looks right now, that could very well happen Key West to Marathon. We'll advance this to 12 p.m. Now, this is where it gets very interesting for our inland counties. You know, or inland portions of Broward and Miami-Dade counties. You know, we're talking about the storm missing us, but you could see this is when hurricane force winds are awfully nearby. Miami, Fort Lauderdale seeing destructive winds still, but you go west and all of a sudden we've got hurricane force winds. I mean, you're talking about places like Kendall and Homestead being in the hurricane force winds, and Key West to Marathon to maybe up to Key Largo still on the back edge of the hurricane force winds. Get to 6 p.m. Still seeing destructive winds for most of our area. Luckily, by this point, the hurricane winds are pushing north. But Fort Myers, this is going to be their bullseye of the hurricane tomorrow at 6 p.m. Another thing to remind you, once again, winds go around in a counterclockwise fashion around low pressure. So at this point, Even though the hurricane winds are done for Key West, now they're on the backside getting the wind coming in from the north, and the storm surge comes in from the other side, which means they're going to get a storm surge first from the south and then from the north. Check out midnight into early Monday morning. Still seeing tropical storm force winds, destructive winds now out of our viewing area. Looks like by 6 a.m. Monday morning, starting to finally see the winds settle down, although Broward County could certainly still be seeing those 39-mile-per-hour winds. Everything will lift to the north. Monday, 12 p.m., we're finally starting to see everything lift out. And as we let this go a little bit up to the north, you're going to see that storm then creates tropical storm-like conditions for the greater Atlanta area. This is key. This is actually everything. Our forecast is, at this point, wind and storm surge, right? So we want to match up the high tide with the worst easterly wind. Our first high tide coming up is at 11:37 a.m., so that's about a half hour away. This one won't be too bad. The storm hasn't cranked up yet. I think this one coming up close to midnight tonight at 11:51, that could be our first time that the water really surges into Miami and Fort Lauderdale. And this next one at 12:26 tomorrow might actually be even worse. If we're going to try to pinpoint all those numbers that Adam was looking at, when are they going to be as high as the numbers he was showing? It might be this one right here. Lunchtime tomorrow. It's when we've got the strongest winds and we've got an onshore flow. By the way, we're not showing you numbers for Key West because the bottom line is Key West will get storm surge from every direction and the eye of the storm for the next 24 hours or so. Unfortunately, it looks like, guys, that's where we're going to end up taking the brunt of this storm.
Much. And because of those tropical storm force winds that we're going to start feeling, especially up in Broward County already in just hours, that is why, again, Broward County has decided to issue a 4 p.m. curfew. We just heard from Miami-Dade County, and they say at this time they are not going to issue a curfew. So that is just some clarification, too, because we're waiting to hear back on them. But Miami-Dade, no curfew at this time. Broward, 4 p.m.
And Palm Beach, 3 p.m. today. Right now, let's check with Melissa Don with the latest on Hollywood Beach and how conditions are faring there.
Hey everyone, want you to take a look at Hollywood Beach right now. You can check out how the waves have been increasing in size and the beach essentially closing in. This is an Hollywood Beach. Several people have come out here earlier today but have decided to go back in and seek shelter. Of course, the big concern here will be the storm surge. And another big concern that we're seeing at the moment is the wind speed. Right now, we're just feeling some of these outer bands. They're just about 20 to 25, almost at times hitting 30 miles per hour at this point. I'll send it back to you in the studio. Reporting in Hollywood, I'm Melissa Don.
All right, Melissa, thank you so much. Well, looking at Cuba, and they took a direct hit from that Category 5 Irma. This has come away. Cuba, the storm slammed into them last night, lashing that area. You can see lots of trees down. It probably impacted some of the buildings. Earlier, we saw video of people being taken to the hospital. And again, this system was supposed to miss most of Cuba. So I'm not sure, since it's such a closed society, how much they actually prepared for this storm, because they were just going to take a brush from the storm.
Right.
But they got hit in some areas by a massive Category 5 hurricane.
Especially that northern coast. It was the first time they had seen a Category 5. We're talking in decades here. So we're still waiting to find out exactly what the extent of the destruction and injuries are as soon as we hear from authorities. Meanwhile, as Irma inches closer to the Florida coast, more and more people are making their way to and through the Carolinas.
Evan West spoke to a couple of travelers passing through the area. He has this report.
This one scares me.
As everyone leaves Florida, Reggie Gerard is on his way south to the Sunshine State.
I'm worried.
Why?
Because I probably won't have a home come, Sunday night, Monday morning. Have a good feeling.
Gerard will stay in Orlando with his mother, who's in fragile health. He's also worried about his home in South Florida.
It's going to get tore up. Went through it 12 years ago and said never again. Here I am.
While Reggie heads south, most are driving north. The roads around Charlotte are congested and only filling up with all the visitors flying in, like Michelle from Melbourne.
I did want to stay, but I have children at home that did not want me to stay.
Really?
They booked me a flight home.
Celebrating 15 years of marriage in Puerto Rico, Peter and Carly Walton's vacation was cut short by the hurricane.
There was no power between us and the airport.
After being stranded in the dark for days, they finally saw the wrath of Irma.
We walked the beach yesterday, and there was just debris and just you name it, it's on the beach, just scattered everywhere.
The devastation could be a preview of what's to come.
God bless everyone.
And as Hurricane Irma continues to move into Florida, we're already seeing some of our neighbors lose power. In Broward County, the numbers are more than 1,800 right now. Over in Miami-Dade, the number is more than 30,000 customers without power as we speak. And NBC6 keeping a close watch, and we'll update you on those new numbers as they come in.
And they are fluctuating often. Want to go to Roxy, who has some information about FPL Power Tracker. Roxy, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Shelley, Trina, good morning to both of you and to everyone watching. Trina, you just reported those numbers, and we will keep you abreast of all of those numbers as we get it. But if you are affected by power outages, maybe watching this right now, you could be watching us, of course, streaming on the NBC6 News and Weather app on your devices. Hopefully, we're already charged up before the storm came. But this is FPL.com, FPL app as well, same information. You have the ability to not only report an outage from the app, from the website, but you could also check in on the status of that outage in your zip code, in your area, and you could really just see what's happening across the state as well. Again, this is the main website here, FPL.com. We're mobilized for Hurricane Irma. It's the first thing you're going to see here on the page. Click on Learn More. When you click on that page, it's going to take you to the Storm Center for Hurricane Irma. I'm going to call your attention here to the county outage information. You can get the latest information via the Power Tracker map and check it by county as well. When we click on that, and I purposely wanted you to see this, FPL doing a really great job of keeping you abreast on what they're working on. You see that alert there, just letting all of the customers know that they are working around the clock to make sure that those outages are taken care of. So here we go. By location, you can put in your address. You can go ahead and put in, let's put in the station address here. 33027 is the address of our stations here in Miramar. See, it tells you where you are, tracks it right down to your area. You could also check by county. This is going to give you the broad range of outages. Broward County outages right now, 1,870, 933,000, more than that have already been stored, 430 have been restored, and 2,300 people have been affected. It's a much larger number here in Miami-Dade with over 30,000 outages, over 1 million people already served. 30,000 already have been restored. 60,000 people have been affected already. Of course, as these winds continue to ramp up, the workers, FPL workers, are going to take refuge, but they will be out in full force restoring all the power. I want to bring you back here to the Power Tracker because this is another really cool tool. The map legend. I'm going to zoom this in right here. You see that South Florida, zoomed it in way too much. Sorry about that. You gotta love technology on live television. Okay, so what it does, what I was going to show you, let me try to bring it back. There you go. Now I made it too small. Okay, you see. Okay, I was just going to show you, ladies, and everybody watching right now, that we are in gray. The whole South Florida area is in gray because, of course, we are encountering lots of power outages. There you go. You can kind of see it there. See the whole South Florida area, and you do have a legend there as well. Okay, there you go. It tells you the customers are affected in gray. The red, it's when 2,000 customers or more are infected. We have affected, I should say. We haven't seen a lot of red, but we have seen plenty of gray. And we anticipate as Irma's feeder bands continue to come into the South Florida area, those winds continue to ramp up. We'll definitely see more of that red and definitely a lot more gray in the area. But again, you can check the outage status. You can report an outage as well by using your address, your zip code, and you can even put in your phone number for that specific information. And even though your power is out, I've been getting a lot of text messages from family and friends saying that we are out. They've also been saying we are continuing to stay abreast on the very latest of Irma, what's happening, because we are streaming live on the NBC6 News and Weather app and on NBC6.com. And of course, we have you covered with our radio partner, 610 WIOD, Y100 and 93.9 MIA. But really great tool, great resource here as we move into the next few hours here in South Florida. Live in the newsroom, Roxanne Vargas, NBC6 News. Ladies, back to you.
Roxy, thank you so much. And of course, people are going to really need to use that power tool because FPL has warned us. They say for certain we are going to have power outages across the area. Right now, we're looking at the Miccosukee Resort camera, and you can see out at the Miccosukee Indian Reservation, it is windy out there. You can see the billboard there is shaking a bit. It's still gray and looks like they've had a little bit of rain out there. So yeah, a lot of folks are getting those feeder bands in that are causing the power outages.
Yep, and we're going to take a look here in Hollywood Beach where folks seeing those outer bands as well. Look at the waves just going. And one more thing to add here. Early this morning, already 50-mile-per-hour winds there. So we expect those tropical storm force winds to continue throughout the day. Hollywood Beach, Hollywood area, also under that Broward County 4 p.m. curfew. So we're going to take a quick break. We're back in minutes.
The right pair of shoes or boots can really make an outfit. At Ross, you'll find the perfect pair at the perfect price. So if you're looking for the newest trends, the latest styles at big savings,
you gotta go to Ross.
For years, I thought I was lactose intolerant. Turns out I was just sensitive to a protein commonly found in milk. Now with A2 milk, I can finally enjoy cereal again.
It's delicious like real milk, because it is real milk.
A2 milk is real milk from real cows that produce only the A2 protein.
I forgot what real milk tasted like. It was amazing. My first latte in 12 years.
It's totally natural, and having only the A2 protein makes all the difference.
It's the way milk was meant to be.
I love milk again. I can't believe it.
Oh my gosh, cereal, smoothies, coffee, everything. I missed it. I love milk. I'm so happy I found it. A2 milk. Real milk that's naturally easy to digest. Love milk again.
If you just sign that first
I'm
one
so
there.
sorry. I don't feel comfortable signing that.
I don't get the math here.
Was this the same car we talked about?
What's this dealer preparation fee?
I'm so sorry. This just is not.
What we talked about.
Get the car without the car salesman. Carvana.com, the better way to buy a car.
you're gonna love the Ross Fall Fashion Event. You'll love the brands, the trends, and most of all, the savings. A fraction of what you'd pay elsewhere. The Ross Fall Fashion Event. On now.
You gotta go to Ross.
Well, welcome back, everyone. Taking a look at our First Alert Doppler 6000 behind us, that big feeder band, Stevie Mack just told me, he came out of the weather office and said that is moving into our area. It's bringing a lot of nasty weather, rain and wind. So be cognizant of that. You know, get inside and stay clear of that, and be cautious around your house if you're still trying to do a few things.
Yeah, he said that could be in the next 30 minutes, not to mention some of those areas already seeing rain and windy conditions. Andrea Cruz has been in Cutler Bay this morning where they're already seeing wind damage, fallen trees.
That's right, Shelly. In fact, just about 10 minutes ago, we got a very powerful band here. For a moment, I thought maybe it was hail, but it wasn't. It was just rain hitting us so hard that it hurt. And this morning, one of those gusts actually caused damage here. A light post fell down. This is actually on US 1 and 112th Avenue, out there in the middle of the road where you can see where it hit and where the light bulb shattered. The actual light bulb, however, is here on the floor. That's because authorities did respond really fast to this incident. They were able to push it aside. So this isn't just any light pole, though. I don't want you to think that it's, something, an aluminum light pole, something very light. In fact, let's walk through and show you just how big it is. Here you can see where it was attached to the ground, some of the cables sticking out. And as you keep walking down, you can see the length of this thing. In fact, this is about a 30-foot tall light post that came down this morning. Thankfully, it doesn't appear that it hit anything else but the pavement, because it must have been very scary to have been here when this came down. Thankfully, people here, it seems, whoa, that's lightning right now. I don't know if you can hear that, but thankfully people have mostly been following the evacuation orders. Cutler Bay is under an evacuation order. So the street, we are seeing some some light traffic, but definitely much less congested than it normally would have been on the weekend, especially because you can see here we're right next to Southland Mall. Normally on the weekend it would be hard to even find parking here at the mall. Right now it is completely empty, parking lot completely empty, a lot of stores boarded up. As far as police presence, we also have been seeing a lot of patrol cars just riding up and down, some of them with their sirens on, some of them without them on, pretty much just patrolling the area, trying to assess any damage. On the way here from Pinecrest, we drove down on US 1, saw several downed trees, very large branches in the middle of the road. So what's just amazing here for me is seeing how fast the conditions can change, because we got here about half an hour ago and it wasn't raining, it was actually completely dry, it was just a light breeze, there was even a little bit of sun shining, and within, I want to say, 5 minutes it just completely changed. At one point we had to run inside the truck again because the wind was just so powerful at that moment. So even if you look outside your window and you think it looks okay, you should not be out on the roads right now, even if you're not in an evacuation order, because there's branches everywhere. If you're driving distracted, you can very easily run into a tree or debris. We saw a bus stop, the glass was shattered, so that was also scattered on the road. So it's just something you want to avoid right now, even if you have not been evacuated, even if you're home thinking you can get some last minute errands done. I would really recommend that you don't come out on the roads, just because you don't even see these wind gusts coming. It could be perfectly fine, and we just saw a wall of water coming towards us. So once again, right now the biggest recommendation is just to avoid the roads. As you can see, we are seeing some traffic behind us, much lighter than we would normally see on a weekend here on US 1. However, these cars really should not even be here. You can see some of the patrol cars that are passing by. They're trying to respond to calls as quickly as possible. But this morning, a firefighter in Pinecrest told me that once the wind gets over 45 miles per hour, they have to follow certain protocols. They can't respond to every single call unless it's a life or death emergency. They have different scales that they follow depending on the wind speed. So at this moment, it's better to just avoid being outside, because first responders might have trouble getting to you, especially if you are in an evacuation zone such as Cutler Bay. That's all I have for you now, live from Cutler Bay. I'm Andrea Cruz, back to the studios.
Andrea, thank you so much, and thank goodness that light pole didn't fall on anyone. And also, I wanted to get back live in the studio because she's standing next to it, and you could hear the rumble of thunder, and lightning is not too far away. So for her own safety, I wanted her to get away from that light pole. So that's one of the things that people need to be aware of. I know a lot of folks say, oh, great, it's not coming here. There's still a danger because the winds are picking up, and as you can see on First Alert Doppler 6000, those feeder bands are coming in fast and furious.
They are in just 30 minutes, as early as 30 minutes, and some of those areas have already seen that. So we want to get over to Al Roker. He's been following the track. He was here in Miami, now made his way over to the west side of Florida, in particular Fort Myers.
Shelley and Trina, we are here in Fort Myers, and it's a gorgeous day. It's one of those Chamber of Commerce days, but within the next 12 hours, this weather is going to change. It's going to deteriorate. And Trina, I know I don't need to tell you that. We've got now a Category 3 storm. It is buffeted and banged up Cuba when it came on shore, a Category 5, then knocked down to a 4, but it did a lot of damage there. Now it's out over those open waters. It's making its way from Cuba to mainland Florida. Of course, the Keys first. In between, you got the Florida Straits with water temperatures between 85 and 90 degrees. Now that storm gets a chance to regenerate. And then, as you know, even though it's got winds of 125 miles per hour, its forward motion has slowed to now just 9 miles per hour. So now it's got the time and it's got the fuel source in that warm water to regenerate. And in fact, the National Hurricane Center is predicting when it hits the Keys, it will be back up to a Category 4 storm. And as it passes there in the morning tomorrow, then it goes on and it's coming for this area. Fort Myers, Sanibel Island, Naples, and making landfall sometime early Sunday afternoon. Now, if there is any silver lining, it's after high tide, but it's still coming. And it is going to come with a ferocity when it makes landfall, anywhere from 100 to 150 miles per hour. What I've been stressing with people, and I know probably, Trina, you have been too, don't pay attention to the line with our hurricane symbols with the numbers on them. Look at that cone of uncertainty. And we still have time for a wobble. Just because now the cone is not necessarily along the east coast of Florida, that does not mean you're out of the woods. You're still going to feel effects. And again, we could have a bit of a wobble back to the east. And that could put southeastern and mid-eastern Florida back in play. And even if it doesn't happen, all along that path, we have the threat of tornadoes as well. And this thing's going to be traversing Florida for about 24 hours, staying a tropical system, most likely staying a hurricane until it gets into Georgia. In fact, right now, the plot calls for it to be a Category 3 storm in Georgia. That could change, obviously. So we're going to continue to watch this. Want to stress to people, we're not trying to hype this. We are just trying to warn you about the potential danger because this is still a powerful, dangerous storm, and we continue to monitor it. Category 3 right now, but projected to become back to a Category 4 as it makes landfall across the Florida Keys. National Weather Service in Key West has been stressing this is a dangerous, dangerous situation. Homes and businesses may be uninhabitable for weeks, if not maybe even months. So this is no time. If the window has not already closed to evacuate, it is all but shut. So I think people need to heed those warnings. Look, for us, we're here, and as things deteriorate, we will hang until as long as it is safe for us to be here. But I'm not going to put my crew, I'm not putting myself in jeopardy. We're going to hunker down, and you need to do the same thing. So that's it from here. Of course, we'll have a complete report on NBC Nightly News coming up this evening, and we'll have NBC News updates throughout the day. In the meantime, I'm Al Roker from NBC News here in Fort Myers. Back to you guys.
Yep, that's what we want to see. Hunker down. We will be here in the studio with you every step of the way as we continue to track, and we'll ride out Irma with you.
All right, let's get you right out to NBC6 reporter Daryl Forges. He is live in Miami Beach, giving us a better idea of what those conditions are looking like there. Hi there, Daryl.
Yeah, Eric, the winds are really picking up right now. So far, let me show you what we're seeing right now on our wind meter right here on my iPhone. Right now, wind speeds are up to 16 miles per hour, but we can really feel it coming. But at this point, this is not even halfway of what we're expected to see later on this afternoon. According to law enforcement officials, they say they're expecting wind speeds to reach up to 40 miles per hour later on this afternoon right here in Miami Beach. They say it's going to be so dangerous, in fact, that they will be leaving the island, leaving the beach later on because it's just not safe for them to stay in the area. And that's why they're urging people at this point to please get out if you can, or at least seek some type of shelter here in Miami Beach. I want to get out the way and show you right now what we're seeing. You see these people right here walking. We've been seeing this for the past 2 hours right now. People walking around, taking a lot of selfies, pictures, posting to Facebook, Instagram, or whatever out on the beach, especially right now. This is not the best thing to do. Right now, law enforcement say they can't force you to do something you don't want to do, but they are urging people right now to not do this. Eric and Shelley, we also saw a man earlier take off his clothes and run into the water in the beach and swam out there in the beach and then came right back. That is just not the smartest thing to do at this point. So at this point, it's very important that you just stay inside, just stay in, because later on this afternoon, it's really going to pick up. And then, of course, tonight as well as into the morning, that's when it's definitely not a good time to be out here. But I know I was listening to you all talk about the storm and how much it's been affecting Cuba as well. I spoke to one man, Eric and Shelley, who was on the beach earlier. So I was talking with him. His name is Mr. Carlos. He's from Cuba. He actually has family that is living in Cuba as we speak, his sister and his brother-in-law. He says that he was able to speak with them earlier, and he says right now they are doing okay. That is the good news there. But he says that they're seeing some heavy impacts right now in his homeland of Cuba. So prayers for the people there in Cuba. But right now he says that his family is okay at this point. But right now you can all see right now my glasses. Actually, I have to kind of take these off right now because I can't really see you guys or see the camera. The rain is really starting to pick up now, so we're really starting to see that precipitation at this point really start to pick up. Wind speeds up to 16, almost 20 miles per hour, but it's really going to pick up in the next few hours. Excuse me, sir, why are you Why are you out here on your...
I'm testing this out. I'm actually doing a stunt. It sounds crazy, but there's a meaning behind it. I'm tying myself to a post down on Meridian for the duration of the hurricane. It's all planned out with safety precautions and everything.
Okay, well, be safe out there. Be safe, all right? Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So there you have people out here, you know, doing stuff. So guys, just be safe. That's all I can say at this point. Just please be safe at this point when you're coming out here. This is just not the right time to really do things. So please be safe as you can. So right now we're going to continue to walk around, see how things are at this point, talking to more people, see how they're doing so far. As soon as we get some more information about what's taking place, as well as talking to some more people, we're going to let you know in my next live report. But let's go ahead and send things back to you guys in the studio.
I'm sorry, Daryl. Did I hear that man correctly? Did I hear that man correctly? He's going to
tie himself to a post and then see the storm out that way?
Wait, I'm sorry. Say it again. I lost you guys for a second. Say it again, Eric.
We just wanted to make sure that we heard him correctly, that he was going to tie himself to a post in Miami Beach and sit out the storm that way.
Yeah, he's going to tie himself to a post.
Okay.
He just walked away, and I don't think that's. He says he's going to have safety there, but still, I just don't. Well, I don't think you should do that.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So
Daryl, go ahead and tell him that Miami Beach just issued a curfew of 9 p.m. So he will only be able to hang out till about 9 o'clock tonight, and then he's going to have to go home.
It's a good thing you said that, Shelley, because there's some people that I was speaking with earlier said they're going to jump in the water tonight. Okay. And I don't think that's a smart idea as well.
Yeah, okay, well, I don't usually like to pass judgment live on the air, but I'm going to go ahead and say that that's just a really bad idea. So, Daryl, thank you so much. We appreciate that. So, Shelley obviously mentioned that curfew, also a curfew in Broward County as well for 4 p.m. tonight, and that is to be off the streets at that point, but they also don't want you driving either. So, let's get you over to First Alert traffic reporter Kelly Blanco with more on that. Hi, Kel.
In the words of John Morales, what the heck are you thinking?
Yeah.
Right? Well, with Hurricane Irma approaching South Florida, by now you should have already made all the preparations to keep you and your loved ones, of course, safe. Unless you have an absolute emergency or need to evacuate, you should not be outdoors or driving. As of right now, Broward has already issued a county-wide curfew for Broward County, which begins at 4 p.m. today and remains in effect until further notice. Miami Beach, as you just heard Shelley say, just issued their curfew a couple of minutes ago, 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. Our First Alert weather team expects a strong storm to be in the Miami and Fort Lauderdale area within the next 30 minutes. Now, as far as ride-sharing service, Uber rides service will be suspended the entire Miami service area starting at 12 p.m. today, and Lyft has already canceled its services as of last night at midnight. Uber drivers, please, you are encouraged to stay off the road during extreme weather. Now, I do want to remind you, we are expected to receive hurricane force winds and high storm surge, of course, with flooding. So please remember, if you were asked to evacuate, once wind speeds hit 40 miles per hour, first responders will no longer be dispatched for rescues due to dangerous weather conditions. And of course, they won't be able to help you. So please, as of right now, stay indoors.
All right, Kelly, thank you. Appreciate it. And of course, Kelly mentioned the curfew. We did, and so did Daryl Forges. It's because these first responders have other things to do than to enforce a curfew that you already know about. So make sure that you're adhering to that. So more information on this. We're talking about the outer bands of this storm reaching South Florida. Heavy rain pounding Homestead. That's what you're looking at here. Some strong winds also expected for later today.
Yeah, how soon could they be going to your neighborhood? We'll fill you in when we come back after the break.
Yes, ma'am. See you soon. Like to learn more about an AmScott cash advance before coming in? Click Get Started at amscott.com. One of our associates will call and answer any questions you have.
AmScott. Cash fast with no credit checks.
You watched us build it. Now, Florida's largest furniture company is excited to open our newest state-of-the-art Rooms to Go and Rooms to Go Kids Fort Lauderdale Superstore at 1413 North Federal Highway, Saturday, September 16th at 10 a.m. Giving you what you want. Great-looking furniture, amazing everyday low prices, and fast delivery. So shop the new Rooms to Go and Rooms to Go Kids Fort Lauderdale Superstore, starting at 10 a.m. Saturday, September 16th, 1413 North Federal Highway.
You're going to be hanging out in here, so if you need anything, text me.
Do you play?
They hear the
Use the Chase mobile app to send money in just a tap to friends at more banks than ever before.
You got next?
Chase. Make more of what's yours.
I've heard it over and over. Why don't you just eat less?
Ever think about exercise?
You have no willpower.
We know it doesn't work that way. Obesity is a real medical condition that can be treated with a kind of weight loss surgery called gastric sleeve.
I'm ready now.
For the gastric sleeve.
I'm ready to be healthy.
Learn more about gastric sleeve surgery at Jackson Health System. Miracles made daily.
$400? Are you serious? Things happen. What are you gonna do? Cash advance could be an option.
Amscott Cash Advance, the cash you need fast with no credit checks. Get started at amscott.com.
Hey, welcome back. 11:43 is your time right now. We certainly appreciate you being with us here as we continue to track and now starting to feel the effects of Hurricane Irma. Incredibly close here to South Florida.
Yeah, some of this nastiness that you're seeing behind us on Doppler 6000 radar is making its way into Homestead, and Adam, it will continue to make its way north as Irma pushes forward. Give us a better idea of the timing that we're talking about here.
Okay, so we've got these rain bands coming in, and we had that tornado warning that expired right around 10 a.m. It seems like hours ago, but that was only, I guess, about 2 hours ago where it expired. It was pushing just north of Homestead, working west. You see these with these outer bands of these hurricanes. You can get these quick spin-ups of tornadoes. We're going to bounce around the radar a little bit. So here's Miami right now, and these showers are moving so incredibly fast. These are moving at 50 miles per hour. The minute I tell you, hey, it's in downtown Miami, 2 seconds later, it's out by the airport. This stuff is trucking right now. But what I do want to try and focus in on is some of the areas that are getting harder hit and when the next batch is going to come through. So here's Country Walk here through West Kendall. You got Cutler Bay. These showers just coming in one after the other, one after the other, after the other. And with each one of them, you get these bursts of wind because they mix down some of the faster moving winds that are just a little bit upstairs in the environment. And then we move out a little ways. So we're watching this area right in through here, and it's, still probably a good 25, 30 miles away from us, but actually maybe a little bit less than that. And with these showers and thunderstorms moving at 50 miles per hour, we're talking within 20 minutes. I think some of that pushing right here into Key Biscayne. So that's something we're going to be watching there pretty closely. Let's go ahead and zoom now down to Key West. There we go here. Showers moving more northeasterly, just really hustling in. Again, strong winds. We've already seen 50, 60 mile per hour wind gusts. Those will be intensifying rapidly overnight tonight through tomorrow morning when we expect landfall to be somewhere just east of Key West. That's going to be the big deal. So up and out we go. There is the eye of Hurricane Irma being seen from our Doppler radar. So we're able to actually penetrate all of these outer bands and get right in there. And this is what we're talking about, probably a distance of right now to that center of circulation from downtown Miami, probably a good 200 miles right there. And it does continue to work west-northwest right along the northern coast of Cuba. And that's what's kind of weakened our system temporarily. But we do, the one thing we are worried about is once it can kind of get over these warmer waters, it does have a chance of intensifying again. Key West, you're going to be the spot that may see this system here moving west-northwest and then expected to move north. Right now, it's a good, let's say, 150, 160 miles away from you guys right now. So we're going to be watching this pretty closely. Here's some of the wind gusts. Got a couple new ones in there. Homestead Air Force Base now gusting to 62 miles per hour. This is the Children's Hospital out here in West Miami, gusting to 57 miles per hour. Plenty of places gusting into the 50s. Lower Matacumbe doing 66 mile per hour wind gusts so far. That is the highest wind gust we've seen so far through the Keys. We're locked in with the National Weather Service folks out of the Keys, Key West, as well as the National Weather Service folks in Miami. So they're able to relay some of this information as spotters see it, and some of the instrumentation out there, some of the mesonets begin to see some of these winds. These are all the airports right now, and it's a northeast wind for us. So when you have 30 to 40 mile per hour winds, that's already going to start piling water up on the coastline. Obviously, it's going to be much worse here through places like Cutler Bay, Pinecrest, some of those areas. And these numbers are going to be intensifying pretty rapidly as well. This is just one of our computer models. It doesn't mean these numbers are exact for that particular point in time. It's kind of a coarse model, so it's not going to give you the exact numbers. and these are more the sustained wind gusts, you know, the consistent wind gusts we may see across these areas. I mean, because we've already seen 60+ mile an hour wind gusts here through parts of the Keys already. And so we're 11:47. This is about 8 hours from now. Pretty consistent wind gusts, I think, into the mid-40s for places like Miami, out of the east, and those winds are going to be out of the east. 11:30 we go, and now we're probably talking about some pretty consistent winds gusting over 80 miles per hour as we go down towards the Keys. Now we go to about 5 a.m. on Sunday. We could easily be looking at some pretty consistent winds gusting in and around Key West to 100 miles per hour. There's Marathon coming in at 88. The system does seem to be making a little bit more of a beeline here towards Key West. And now all of a sudden we kind of fast forward to 8:30. And you can see here, I mean, Marathon versus Key West, we're going to be going back and forth. Don't focus too much on that. One thing, though, that jumps out at me, these are some big winds. 123 mile an hour wind gusts possible here in Marathon. Key West coming in about 94, 50 to now. Hurricane force wind. We're going to be seeing those hurricane force winds begin in gust form, I would imagine, in Miami easily overnight. Again, these numbers are a little bit on the conservative side. There's Fort Myers. There's Naples. Folks have gone over to these areas. Folks have gone up towards Tampa. We'll start to kind of pipe Tampa data into some of these maps here before too long. In fact, we do have Tampa up there. So let's show you. There's Tampa, 48 mile per hour winds once we get into midday Sunday. You know what else is going on? We may have already made our landfall here in and around Key West. So pretty consistent 100 to 120 mile per hour winds from morning hours through the evening hours, through the early afternoon hours, I should say here. And guys, we'll continue on with these kind of maps here, showing you city by city, time by time, exactly what we're expecting. Back to you.
All right, Adam, thank you so much. We want to head over to Steve Litz at Dinner Key Marina in Coconut Grove, an evacuation area. And what's going on here with the officers?
Well, yeah, one officer came over to me and said, "Hey, you're in an evacuation area." I said, "I know." But he was, we're serious about this. He said that he has information that they're expecting a 10-foot storm surge. By the way, I'm at Dinner Key Marina, kind of right next to Miami City Hall here in the Grove. And so we're going to do this live shot, and then we're going to get out of here on the advice of that police officer. So this is certainly a hub to some of South Florida's sailing community, and you see how folks have battened down their boats, and they are hoping that their tension ropes and their bumpers are going to do the trick. There are hundreds, if not maybe thousands, of boats in the water all throughout South Florida, and you can imagine boat owners are, doing all they can to batten down their boats, but they have no idea. Remember in previous storms, Hurricane Andrew, we can't say it enough, how boats were lifted out of their slips and out of the docks, and they landed in neighborhoods, sometimes blocks and blocks away from here. But you want to talk about vulnerable boats? Yeah, we have big sailboats here. In slips, on docks, in slips, bumpers attached with ropes. But look at the sailboats just out here in out here in the cove here. So these are vulnerable boats because you know why? All they have is they have mooring balls. Those white balls you see out there, those are mooring balls. They're attached to the ground, and then these boat owners can attach to the mooring balls. They can throw their anchors down. I have a friend of mine who is actually down near Parajungle, and the way he secured his sailboat was 3 anchors and then attached to a mooring ball. Ross, pan to the left a little bit to the island, and you can see how some of those sailboats over there got anchored and moored as close to that little outlying island over there as possible, thinking that maybe will provide some sort of stability and maybe somebody on that boat out there. Oh, yeah, we do see a man out there. Yeah, I see him on there, that blue boat. And we've seen a couple of boat owners out here, last minute, maybe they were taking care of their homes. Now they're taking care of their boats. You see these folks over here walking off their boat, and they're real familiar. Mariners, are familiar with these waters and with these winds. I did an interview with one boat owner out here who had a complete command of the wind direction and how it's going to impact his boat in the sense of pushing his boat backwards and then pushing other boats behind him in a forward direction. And so these folks here, and of course with some of these boats, there's just no way to get them out of the water. I mean, you can't trailer these boats out of the water, and what do? You sail these boats is what you got to do to get them into the most safest areas. And of course, people don't have time to get in their boat and probably take a 5-day sail trip just to get their crafts out of the water, especially with this storm approaching. So pretty gusty here. We're getting some pretty good storm gusts. We were down the Pinecrest area a little earlier, and the winds were kicking up there. So here we are, these outer bands of Irma moving our way. Most most evident in the winds right now. Haven't seen a whole lot of rain, a few rain bands, but mostly it's these gusting winds. But again, the officer who approached us asked us to leave as soon as we were done with our live shot. You know, a stern warning from him. He said here there's information that about a 10-foot storm surge is due here in about an hour. So this is a good time for me and my photographer to get out of here. Send it back to you guys in the Miramar studios.
Sounds good.
All right.
Steve, thank you.
Yeah, be safe. Get out of there. We want to also get you right out to Julia Bagg. She is in Homestead. Of course, Homestead, one of those areas along with Pinecrest and Coconut Grove down there.
That's right.
That were hit the hardest with some of those very early outer bands. So let's go to Julia in Homestead.
I'm Julia Bagg in the Redland Reef community of Homestead, where winds have been kicking up and then they'll suddenly take a pause before whipping right back up again. I'm at the home of the Montaner family here. You can see the shutters that they've put up. They've got this on the second floor too. Doing this was no easy task, and you're about to find out why. Let's bring you inside here as the family's been gathered. They've got their pets here also kind of riding out this storm, and we'll come this way to where they were supposed to actually be having a birthday celebration today. They had some plans to go out of town. They had to put that on hold. But back to those shutters that I was talking about. This is David Montaner and his family, and Noelia. And David, you're recovering right now. You were in the hospital. You were putting up shutters on your...
I was secure, just making sure everything was secure and stuff. And I got careless and ran out of roof and I fell down. Lucky for me, I hit my head. So I landed on my head. So I got, I guess, a strong head, so, you know, I'm fine. You know, a little bit sore, but I'm doing okay.
I mean, just looking at what happened, I know you really got roughed up, but you're also very fortunate that it wasn't any worse.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah, God cushioned the blow for me, and I'm here, you know, I'm just recovering, waiting out the storm. I mean, I'm anxious. I just want to get this thing done with, and so we can just move on.
You know, a lot of people in South Florida feel that way, certainly, and not the least of which, of course, is the birthday girl in this household, your wife, Noelia. Noelia, you were expecting something very different today and, you know, yesterday after going to the hospital with your husband.
You know, I almost forgot it was my birthday today because I was so stressed out yesterday because of this.
That's an early birthday
and
gift.
Yes, it was actually the best gift that God could have given me is that my husband is alive today because he could have broken his neck, and that's what the doctors told him. And he didn't. He just has stitches on his head and on his arms and some swelling, but it could have been a lot worse. And so, yeah, we're just doing what everybody, I guess, in Miami is doing, watching TV and praying that the storm doesn't hit us as bad as we all expected it to hit us.
Noelia, you lived through Hurricane Andrew. You remember well. You're in a new home now, and you were a little concerned about, you know, is your home gonna hold up?
Yeah. Not just myself, but some of my neighbors, because, you know, the mentality in Miami is new homes don't do as well as the old homes. The structure is not the same because they're not solid concrete. So, yeah, we're still concerned about that. But we have a plan that if the winds get really bad and it does come back our way, we're just going to, like, go into that hallway and we're going to bring all our mattresses down later today just to be prepared because it seems like the storm might be coming later tonight, early morning, and we don't want to be caught off guard while we're sleeping and then it shifts. Because I remember Andrew and everybody expected it to go one way and at the last minute it went somewhere else and a lot of people were caught off guard.
Of course, and someone who doesn't remember Andrew, your daughter, Maya, I mean, tell me how you're dealing with this. I understand sometimes you get a little bit of cabin fever with this. How do you kind of handle all these hours just kind of sitting inside? You've got shutters on the outside so you can't even see daylight outside.
Well, I guess I'm kind of in shock, I guess. I don't really know what's going on. I've never been through anything like this, and yeah, it's kind of just a new scenario, I guess.
Yeah, definitely a new scenario. But you know what? We're glad all of you guys are safe. David, we're glad that you're healing for sure. So this is what it's like right now for the Montaner family, for so many families here in South Florida. From Homestead, I'm Julia Bagg. Back to you.
Yeah, you know what, Julia, thank you. And I think that a little bit of perspective when you're dealing with something like this, I think is really good to have. And that family just gave us that. So a little bit of a behind the scenes look at Zoo Miami. We spent some time there this morning. One of our reporters, this is a vulture being brought in from the storm. And a big thing that Ron McGill got across from us, the communications director, is that they can't stress these animals out anymore by moving them into another location. They're just trying to keep them within the zoo to a safer place. So these handlers taking it out of that carrier and then walking it very slowly to the crate where they want to keep that vulture throughout the course of the storm.
Let's look at the cheetah exhibit right now. You can see they're tucked away in their enclosure as the storm moves in. And hay all over the floor there in a big tub of water to keep them going as that storm passes.
Yeah, and you got to know that the majority of these animals at the zoo, they know something's up, right? They can tell. So some flamingos all ready to wait out the storm and continue the process of letting the storm roll through before they can get back to their normal enclosure. So this is where these flamingos will be staying to see out the storm. Mind you, this is a very different place than some of the photos that came out of Andrew when those flamingos were in a very different spot. So they're very well taken care of throughout the course of this storm, and Ron McGill was able to give us some really good perspective on why it's important to keep these animals calm and relaxed because they're pretty delicate.
Let's head over to Miami-Dade County Mayor Carlos Jimenez. He spoke a few minutes ago on a curfew in Miami-Dade. This is what he had to say.
I decided not to implement a curfew. I don't think it's necessary at this time in Miami-Dade County. We don't have. We have police officers on the road, and at this point we have. We may experience some hurricane force winds. Curfews normally are put after a storm when you suffer, a lot of power outages, etc. Or you have some issues that are cropping up. I'm not going to second guess what Broward County is doing, but that's not something that I'm thinking about doing right now.
And by the way, our colleagues telling us that Miami Beach has issued a curfew from 6 p.m. until 9 a.m.
All right, so want to give out this number as well very quickly here. Governor Rick Scott actually tweeted overnight that this is a really good source for you to receive updates during the storm. And the reason he says that is because it's through text message. So they make it really, really simple. Just text FL Prepares to 888-777. FL Prepares 3 8s and 3 7s, and that way you can get updates from the Florida Division of Emergency Management through text messages on your smartphone.
And the Florida Emergency Information Line is available 24/7 for families and visitors at 1-800-342-3557. Quick correction, that Miami Beach curfew is from 9 p.m. until 6 a.m. We're going to take a quick break. Back in minutes.
You're going to love the Ross Fall Fashion Event. You'll love the brands, the trends, and most of all, the savings. A fraction of what you'd pay elsewhere. The Ross Fall Fashion Event. On now.
You gotta go to Ross.
For years, I thought I was lactose intolerant. Turns out I was just sensitive to a protein commonly found in milk. Now with A2 milk, I can finally enjoy cereal again.
It's delicious like real milk, because it is real milk.
A2 milk is real milk from real cows that produce only the A2 protein.
I forgot what real milk tasted like. It was amazing. My first latte in 12 years.
It's totally natural, and having only the A2 protein makes all the difference.
It's the way milk was meant to be.
I love milk again. I can't believe it.
Oh my gosh, cereal, smoothies, coffee, everything. I missed it. I love milk. I'm so happy I found it. A2 milk. Real milk that's naturally easy to digest. Love milk again.
Get ready. The new Rooms to Go Superstore opens Saturday, September 16th in Fort Lauderdale. Don't miss the Rooms to Go grand opening celebration starting Saturday, September 16th in Fort Lauderdale. The right pair of shoes or boots can really make an outfit. At Ross, you'll find the perfect pair at the perfect price. So if you're looking for the newest trends, the latest styles at big savings,
You gotta go to Ross.
Hey, welcome back. Thanks for being with us as we continue to track Hurricane Irma. 12:01 right now is your time.
Let's get you right over to First Alert meteorologist Steve McLaughlin with a better idea of what is next with this storm. Steve, obviously those outer bands causing some damage in various areas at this point.
Yeah, and it looks like Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood about to get one of those outer bands. It's going to be a quick one. The bigger ones will be headed toward Key West over the next few hours. I wanted to talk about what to expect. Actually, I believe if you could go over to Weather Computer 1, you're on Max 2 right now. We need you to go back over to Max 1 if that is possible. Okay, it is coming. Here we go. This is Max 1. I want to show you what's going on for Key West. Tropical storm force winds have arrived. The peak of the winds, 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, landfall right around that time, pretty close, reaching 167 miles per hour, 13 to 15 inches of rain. Now I want to talk about Miami and tide time. So we've got a high tide pretty much going on right now, 11:37 a.m. That one is not going to be a huge deal. If we're going to be talking about flooding, I think there's two times we really need to watch. Just before midnight tonight at 11:51 and lunchtime tomorrow. Now, you might wake up tomorrow morning if you're still in the area and see this low tide and say, this doesn't look like a big deal, even after the high tide tonight into early tomorrow morning. I think it's this one right here we really need to watch. 12:26 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. I think that high tide is when we're going to have the strongest winds, and that wind is coming onshore. Right now, winds down to 125 miles per hour. That is a strong Category 3, probably becoming Category 4 again before headed up toward Key West. About 150 miles from Key West. And check it out, the official movement has been to the west. But look at the last couple of frames right there. I'm going to let it go again. That's the coast of Cuba right there, that wobble. It is trying to start to make that turn to the north and west and then start heading up toward Key West over the next 24 hours. I want to bring it back home and show you our First Alert Doppler 6000. This is live. This is the most powerful radar in South Florida, and it can see out 300 miles, and this is the best tool to have on your smartphone. Download the NBC6 News and Weather app, and you can track these bands of rain coming in better than any other radar you can possibly get on your smartphone. We can promise you that. So this is what it looks like right now. Broward County not seeing a ton of rain. You get from Miami south, and that's where those bands are starting to come in. So let me first zoom in to Fort Lauderdale and Broward County. Couple of spotty on and off showers. Now, just offshore Miami, we've got our first band coming in right now. About a half hour ago, we said, get ready. Our first band of heavy rain and storms coming in. There it is. So you're going to get a downpour for about 30 minutes, and then just as quickly, the rain might actually end up shutting off. Want to go out a little bit wider. One of those feeder bands is just north of Key West. So this is good. You're actually going to miss that heavy line right there. I was thinking that was going to get awfully close to you, but there's just a ton more that's going to be coming in. Let me zoom on into one of my favorite places, Hollywood. Not much going on right now. We'll go out a little bit wider, and there are a couple of showers just offshore. And now let me switch over to our live Hollywood cam. A couple people on the beach. Hopefully they're not going to be there for too much longer, but yeah, you can see that easterly wind pushing the palm trees. And with that, want to send it on out to Melissa Don, who's standing by in Hollywood. Hey, Melissa, you look great, but I can see the wind is starting to pick up.
Hi there, Steve. Thank you, first of all. And like you mentioned, there are a handful of people, but we are looking at Hollywood police who are actually going to person. I went up to a couple families myself and said, hey there, are you aware that Broward County has issued a curfew starting today at 4 p.m.? A handful of families told me they had no idea, so I told them, explained to them why the mayor did so. Then the police officer from Hollywood Police, he also went, told a handful of people, a group of them left. Another gentleman said, okay, he got one last photo in, and that's that. So keep in mind that's 4 p.m. curfew here. Right now we're going to send it over to Rick Scott's press conference in Orange County.
A life-threatening major Category 3 storm with winds of 125 miles per hour. This is a deadly major storm, and our state has never seen anything like it. Millions of Floridians will see major hurricane impacts with deadly storm surge and life-threatening winds. There's a serious threat of significant storm surge flooding. There's a serious threat of significant storm surge flooding along the entire west coast of Florida, and this is increased to 15 feet of impact above ground level. 15 feet of impact above ground level. Think about that. 15 feet is devastating and will cover your house. In the Tampa Bay area, the surge is forecasted to be 5 to 8 feet. Think about that. The typical first story is 7 to 10 feet, 5 to 8 feet. This is a life-threatening situation. Remember, the storm surge comes after the wind. Do not think the storm is over when the wind slows down. Local officials will let you know when it's safe. The storm surge will rush in and it could kill you. Here in Orange County, you're under a hurricane warning and will see dangerous and life-threatening wind and torrential rainfall of more than a foot. The rainfall has already started in this area and the wind will begin tonight. We could also see tornadoes. Please take action to keep your family safe and shelter in place or find shelter now. There is a mandatory evacuation order for mobile homes in Orange County. If you have been ordered to evacuate anywhere in the state, you need to leave right now. Not tonight, not in an hour, now. You are running out of time to make a decision. Evacuations are in place across the state. More than 6.3 million Floridians have been ordered to evacuate. You need to listen to local evacuation orders. I'm a dad and I'm a grandfather. I love my family more than anything, and I cannot imagine life without them. Do not put your life or your family's life at risk. Right now is the right time to do the right thing for your family. School buses are aiding in evacuations. Please take advantage of this service. If you need to leave and are unable to do so for any reason at all, call 1-800-342-357. I'm sorry, 1-800-342-3557, and we will do everything possible to get you out. Protecting life is our absolute top priority. There will be no resource, there will be no expense that will be spared to protect lives. I urge everyone to check on your neighbors, families, and friends. If you know someone who is not evacuating and should, please contact them and make sure they have a plan to get to safety. But you can't wait to get out. You can't wait until the storm's here. You've got to do it now. Possessions can be replaced. Your house can be replaced. You and your family cannot be replaced. Shelters. We have been working with counties across the state to ensure there are enough shelters. Currently, there are more than 320 shelters open across every county in the path of the storm, and more are opening today. More than 54,000 Floridians have already taken shelter, and there's still room for more. If you have a building and emergency officials ask you to open a shelter, please comply. You will save somebody's life. This is so important to families seeking safety. Everyone in Florida needs to find a safe place to go. Traffic. Evacuation routes are moving, and we have stopped the shoulder driving on I-75 from Wildwood to the Georgia line because traffic is moving. If there's a need to reopen this, FDOT and Highway Safety will do so immediately. Evacuations are not meant to be convenient. They're meant to keep you safe. Check real-time traffic information and evacuation routes at fl511.com. Fuel. We are still aggressively working to keep gas stations open and filled. But this won't last much longer in South Florida because it will be unsafe to be on the roads. While all the fuel ports in Florida are now closed for safety as Irma impacts our state, following the storm, state troopers will resume escorting fuel supply trucks directly to gas stations across the state. I waived Florida motor fuel import tax for 5 days to help bring more fuel to our state for storm response and recovery. This will make our efforts to bring more fuel into our state help us bring more fuel from other states, neighboring states after the storm. We know fuel is important. We're doing everything we can to get more fuel in the state. Florida's prepared. Every single Florida Guardsman that can be deployed has already been deployed to prepare and respond to this storm.
Watch until when?
Across the state. We have so many members of our law enforcement.
Okay, we got a tornado warning here, guys, recently issued for Collier County, and I'm going to have Steve go ahead and drive the radar around here. And these are very fast-moving storms, too. So, again, just want to make sure that you're aware of that. Let me just get the language out to you here. Tornado warning for south central Collier County and southwestern Florida. It's this particular cell right in through here. These things are issued faster even than our systems can go ahead and paint them. So here we go. Tornado warning, southwestern Florida, obviously, and it is south central Collier County. 12:08 p.m. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located 10 miles southwest of Big Cypress National Preserve, 11 miles northeast of Chokoloskee, moving west at 45 miles per hour. This is Doppler radar indicated again here, moving west. I believe that's the actual one here. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out of this here. Yes, that is the one that we are concerned about. This particular cell, tornado, Doppler indicated right at this little particular edge right here, moving west extremely fast here. I just want to pull up the information on this one more time. Expires in 17 minutes. That's how quickly these things are moving. So again, I want to go over some of the areas impacted here. We are talking about, let's see here, south central Collier County. This is, we're talking Cypress National Preserve, 11 miles northeast of Chokoloskee, moving west at 45. And again, this is the area that we're most concerned about. And this is a fast-moving system, 45 mile per hour, Doppler radar indicated tornado. So not a tornado that is actually on the ground here. This is a thunderstorm that is capable of producing a tornado, located right now 10 miles southwest of Big Cypress National Preserve. So that's the situation with this. Moving west, within a few moments, this is going to be offshore. That's how fast these are moving. Thank you, Steve, for putting this back into motion here. It's the back edge of this, that little appendage. That's typically where you get these weak spin-ups of tornadoes. Remember, even a weak tornado can cause some major damage. So if you are streaming or watching or know anybody in these locations, it's time to take cover now. You get into an interior room, go as low as you can in your structure, interior room, away from windows. That's the best way to ride this system out here. Again, this is moving west very quickly at 45 miles per hour. Doppler radar indicated tornado 10 miles southwest of Big Cypress National Preserve. And again, some of the areas impacted, Everglades City. It's near Everglades City. Carnestown and Plantation Island around 12:25 p.m. Everglades National Park, the timing on that would be around 12:30. So within the next 27 minutes, it could be arriving Everglades National Park. Again, Everglades City, Carnestown, and Plantation Island around 12:25. Doppler radar indicated tornado, and there we go. You can. This is basically the area where we're worried about the possibility of a tornado. Nothing that has been spotted on the ground. This is again moving west at 45 miles per hour. So these are in and out of here pretty quickly. This is a pretty low population area. But if you know anyone that's here, if you're able to stream us or watching from this location, you definitely want to heed this warning for sure. Also looking at a tornado watch now for a good chunk of South Florida. I don't have the particular time on that. And Steve, unless you want to yell it over to me here, they basically came out simultaneously. Flood watches, coastal flood watches. We have coastal surge warnings, hurricane warnings, any kind of watch or warning you can think of, we definitely have across this region. But that's the particular cell right along 41, moving towards the west-southwest at 45 miles per hour. Chokoloskee will have to watch this particular area as well pretty closely for potential tornado. These, whenever we see a little bit of a spin in the atmosphere with this sort of a system north of a hurricane, we tend to see these little spin-ups, these little weak, fast-moving tornadoes. That's exactly what we've got right now. You don't tend to see very much lightning. We've seen some occasional lightning strikes with this. Very strong winds and possible tornadoes here as this continues to push west. That's all I have for now with this particular Doppler radar indicated tornado. Steve, I don't know if you want to bounce me around the radar anymore. We can kind of get back to the spot here. I don't have any additional information coming in on this warning right now. But again, Doppler radar indicated moving west-southwest at 45 miles per hour. This won't be the only time we get a tornado warning like this, but it's a big difference when it's a Doppler indicated tornado warning versus ground truth tornado warning. It's that particular back edge right in through here that we have to be a little bit most concerned about. Steve, if you want to give me a little bit of a radar tour, I can get some folks updated on some other thunderstorms that are working towards Miami. These are also moving west at 40 to 50 miles per hour, kind of making it right through South Beach and into downtown Miami right now. We don't have any warnings with these cells, but we'll continue to watch these very closely as they race east to west. Palmetto Bay dealing with some fast-moving showers and thunderstorms as well. Just 20 minutes ago, these were offshore, so they're moving quickly. Cutler Bay, this is going to be an area that's not only dealing with fast-moving thunderstorms, but also some storm surge. Key West, not dealing necessarily with heavy rain right now, but we've been looking at winds gusting easily 50, 60 plus miles per hour across this region. And then we extend about a couple hundred miles south. There's that actual center of circulation from Hurricane Irma, working towards the west-northwest right now. And we'll continue to see these storms cycling in. These tornadoes can spin up at any time. When we warn on a particular area, these are moving fast too, 45 to even 55 miles per hour. You can't outrun them. If you feel like, you're in a spot where, hey, I'm going to get in the car and get out of here, these things are really trucking right now because of the way the atmosphere is working. Very fast-moving winds upstairs in the atmosphere. Once again, there's the back edge of that particular storm we're watching, moving west-southwest, a Doppler radar indicated tornado. And I just want to, again, go over some of the areas that could be potentially in the line of fire. And again, this was at 12:08. This was spotted by the National Weather Service. Dangerous storm will be near Everglades City, Carnes Sound, and Plantation Island around 12:25. So that's basically 8 minutes from now. Everglades National Park around 12:30 p.m. Flying debris, dangerous to those caught without shelter. So this is why you want to get indoors and away from the windows to go ahead and ride this particular storm out. This is the far west coast of Florida, so this is going to be off and into the water here before you know it. There's Marco Island, by the way, here at the top of the screen. And this is going to be that core area. And here we go. It's finally plotting now. Better late than never, right? It's just, again, the nature of these fast-moving storms. That's where it started, but already where that particular tornado would be back in through here. So if we could take that tornado warning off just for a moment, Steve, I do appreciate it, though. And that is the area that we're concerned about. The actual tornado would already be much farther west than that, okay, because these are moving very quickly, west-southwest at about 45 miles per hour. Chokoloskee, this is definitely a low population area, but if anyone's watching from there or streaming our app right now, this is not the time to be outside. Definitely take shelter now, guys.
All right, Adam, thank you. So again, that tornado warning coming out of Collier County.
Yes.
So that is in place right now. So we will keep on with Adam because oftentimes it changes very, very quickly.
Yes.
It rips through and then it happens and then it's over relatively quickly. So we'll be back with Adam as soon as we know any different in terms of that tornado warning happening right now in Collier.
Want to head over to Southwest Miami-Dade. That is where Amanda Placencia has been going live from as they are starting to see conditions worsen there. Amanda?
Down now, those conditions kind of worsening, and the wind out here is really what you got to be careful with, because look at this huge tree actually all throughout the neighborhood, branches broken, fallen. This is what we're seeing in the Southwest Miami-Dade area. I'm actually along 127th Avenue, Southwest 127th Avenue, and Southwest 188th Street, and something definitely came through here. Lots of winds because we've seen a lot of downed trees, and I'm actually going to talk to Osmani here. And tell me what you witnessed just a few moments ago.
A lot of wind, everything flying, a whole bunch of trees like falling, roof was also flying everywhere.
What you said.
All right, we lost her there. Poor connection, as you can imagine, with those conditions there. We'll touch base with her as soon as we can.
Yeah, and we just heard Governor Rick Scott talking along the west coast of Florida, talking about the unprecedented number of evacuations, whether they be voluntary or mandatory. So that being said, there's also an unprecedented amount of people out there on the roads trying to get out. So let's get you over to First Alert traffic reporter Kelly Blanco watching what it looks like headed north. Go.
Yeah, Eric, and we all know people who decided to leave South Florida, take Alligator Alley, head over to Orlando, head over to Tampa, only now to be told that they need to continue going north. So let's go ahead and pull that camera on I-75 northbound, because right now there is heavy traffic on our metro cameras. And I'm going to show you in a couple of minutes as soon as the control room pulls that camera up. You can see here traffic at a standstill now. Governor Rick Scott did say that they are not using the shoulder at this time for traffic. But again, this is a look at I-75 northbound right around mile marker 328. Now, this is just near the turnpike, and all these people are leaving the coast and simply just heading north. Now, my Twitter account is KellyNBC6 for those folks who have family members in that area, friends. Let them know. I'll be near my computer all day. If they have any questions as far as traffic, if there are any accidents out on the road, just tweet me. I will be near my computer to help you out. So again, that camera was I-75 northbound right between that area where it meets the turnpike, and folks are just leaving the coast and headed either towards, the center of the state, just continuing on northbound. So good luck to them. And of course, we wish them the best.
All right. Kelly, thank you so much. We're going to talk to Andrea Cruz now, who is in Cutler Bay. A lot of wind damage. Andrea, when we saw you last, there was a light post that had gone to the ground, essentially. So what else are you seeing out there as far as fallen trees and rain and wind conditions?
Well, Shelly, right now we just continue to see how fast conditions can deteriorate out here. I want to say again, maybe just 10 minutes ago, everything looked fine. Traffic was moving very smoothly, and then all of a sudden, another one of those gusts came through. And at one point, I ran back inside the truck because it was getting so bad out here. But once inside the truck, it started swaying back and forth. So it's kind of like you don't really know what's worse, being outside or being inside. So those are the kind of conditions you would be dealing if you're out here on the roads. But let's take a look. This is US 1 right here behind me. The good news is that in general, people do seem to be following the evacuation order that was set in place here in Cutler Bay, because we're seeing much lesser traffic than we normally would on a weekend right next to Southland Mall. Normally it would be hard to even find parking here on a Saturday. However, right now you can see that parking lot completely empty, stores boarded up. We also continue to see police driving by every few minutes or so. We have seen quite a few FPL trucks as well, which makes perfect sense because we have seen a lot of downed trees, branches, and of course we know that once those trees start falling down, so do the power lines. And again, driving out here would just not be fun right now. Even if you look outside your window, you think everything is fine. Once you're out on the road, conditions can change really within just a few minutes, because we're not getting that constant pounding of rain and wind that you can, try to get away from. It just really comes at you from out of nowhere. And if you're driving distracted, you might even drive over branches. There's branches lying around everywhere. We noticed along US 1 coming down from Pinecrest to Cutler Bay. So right now, having car trouble, that is not the kind of problem you want to run into, because of course we know it would be very hard to find help right now. There are no gas stations open, no mechanic shops open. We're actually here right next to a Firestone, which is completely closed. So if you do run into that kind of car trouble, you will not be able to get the help that you need. And those are the conditions right now in Cutler Bay. We definitely saw what Adam was talking about with those cells moving by very, very quickly. And we know that more are on their way. So if you're in this area right now, it's better that you just stay inside. Live from Cutler Bay, I'm Andrea Cruz. Back to the studio.
All right, Andrea, thank you so much. We want to get over to meteorologist Steve McLaughlin. And Steve, we got three things going on here. Let's bullet point them real quick. Barreling down on the Keys. One, at Tampa Bay, possible storm surge of 5 to 8 feet. And Collier County, we've got that tornado warning happening right now.
Yeah, and we can tell you the tornado warning might no longer be in effect. I think it's about to come down with that storm just offshore. We're keeping an eye on that one. Luckily, the cell that prompted that warning is offshore. We've got a tornado watch for parts of the area, and we're going to show you where that tornado watch is in just a second. I want to stress a tornado watch is not a tornado warning. A tornado watch means conditions are favorable for tornadoes. A tornado warning means a tornado is happening or has been detected by Doppler radar or by someone on the ground. We do not have that within our viewing area right now. Starting with the winds, these are sustained winds now out of the east, northeast, just about everywhere. Kendall, 18 miles per hour. Miami up to 31 miles per hour. Marathon, 29. Key West, 29. And you can see Pembroke Pines at about 25 miles per hour. Now the wind gusts. Remember, anything over 39 we classify as tropical storm gusts. We're at 45 miles per hour in Miami right now. So we've got a tropical storm gust going on in Miami right now. Fort Lauderdale, 35. Pembroke Pines, 40 miles per hour. Same in Key West. Marathon current wind gust is at 41 miles per hour. Potential wind gusts over the next 24 hours. I think this might be a general 95 to 100, but we're going to get some bullseyes in there up over 100 for Miami and Fort Lauderdale. More importantly is what's going on down in the Keys, of course. We have estimates that tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., which is about the time of landfall in Key West, we could have a wind gust there of 167 miles per hour. This is the latest track, came out at about 11 a.m., so about 90 minutes ago. And at 8 p.m. this evening, we're at winds of 130, Category 4. Now, right now, we're at Category 3. And it's possible that once this storm gets back into warm water, remember it's just hugging the coast of Cuba and just started to make that right-hand turn, but it gets back into warmer water and all of a sudden we go back up to Category 4. Let me zoom in and show you what's going to be happening tomorrow morning. Right there, if this center track is correct, that is a direct hit landfall. Key West, Category 4, winds of 140 miles per hour. There is still that chance the storm could go to the west of Key West, but it is such a big storm, it would still be major implications. There is still that possibility the storm would go a little bit farther to the east. That would increase the impacts here in Miami and Fort Lauderdale. As we see it right now, zero chance this storm could make landfall in Miami or Fort Lauderdale. But landfall doesn't matter. This storm is so big. We've got an eye that's about 40 to 50 miles per hour and a storm that is over 500 miles wide at its biggest point. You know, you start to get these outer bands. And yes, indeed, if it were to take this eastern track, we would still get major implications, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. But even the central track or the western track, and we're still going to get the effects here. And if you're thinking right now, oh, there's a couple of bands coming through, not a big deal. Remember, the storm hasn't made the right-hand turn yet. When that happens, all of that moisture starts surging into the area. As we go out a little bit wider, there's your storm as a Category 3 Monday morning at 8 a.m. So figure it's Tampa Bay sometime late Sunday night into early Monday morning as a Category 4 or 3 storm. And then it heads up toward Atlanta as a tropical storm. You can see 7 a.m. on Thursday morning. We still got winds of 25 miles per hour. Then a big rainstorm for Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Missouri, places like that. Up next, I want to time out the winds. We've got 3 colors on here. Yellow is tropical storm force. Winds of sustained 39 plus, destructive 58, hurricane 74 plus. So we're already seeing wind gusts over 39 miles per hour by 12 p.m., which is our current hour, and that lines up perfectly with this yellow shaded area. Now, we get towards 6 p.m., most of us seeing tropical storm force winds. We're starting by this point to see the destructive winds from Key West all the way up to Key Largo. You can see that right there. Hurricane force winds will be just offshore. We get into midnight. Much of the area seeing tropical storm force winds. Destructive winds now actually pushing into southern Miami-Dade County. Key West just starting to see hurricane force winds, and that's stretching right up through Marathon and maybe as far north as Key Largo. Here's your bullseye for Key West, Sunday 6 a.m., hurricane force winds. Destructive winds at this point beginning to pick up for Miami and possibly into Broward County as well. I think as far as Miami and Fort Lauderdale go, this might end up being our worst time for this storm. Now, we're going to get heavy bands all night into tomorrow morning, but this is the time, Sunday 12 p.m., when we have the worst winds, and those winds are still coming in off the ocean. So put it all together. Destructive to possibly hurricane force winds, especially as you get south of Miami. At this point as well, that wind is pushing in all the water from the ocean, and 12:30 p.m., give or take a few minutes, is our high tide tomorrow. 12 p.m. will be the worst time for this storm for Miami and Fort Lauderdale. And at 12 p.m., Key West still seeing hurricane force winds, although they're on the back edge of the worst of the winds. 6 p.m. on Sunday, still seeing destructive winds for most of our viewing area. Luckily, by this point, the hurricane winds are out of Key West. Fort Myers, that's their bullseye. By the way, because the winds around low pressure are counterclockwise, and where you see the hurricane force winds, that's going to be the center of the storm, so you really get a feel for the track. Now at this point, the winds coming in from the north. Key West gets another round of storm surge. This time, it's coming from a different direction. They are going to get hit from every angle, every possible storm surge, and each one with 2 high tides. We get to midnight into early Monday morning, still feeling tropical storm winds for Miami and Fort Lauderdale. Destructive winds now out of the area. 6 a.m. Monday morning, you're going to wake up. It's still breezy out there, but we're starting to get that more calm air in here. 12 p.m. on Monday, everything's starting to lift toward Jacksonville. Tampa starting to get out of the worst weather. But remember, again, low pressure, counterclockwise. At this point, Tampa will get into its worst storm surge. So for the west coast of Florida, the worst storm surge is going to happen after the storm passes, when the water starts getting pushed back like this. For us here in Miami and Fort Lauderdale, it's out ahead of the storm like this that we get the worst storm surge. So while we're waiting for that eye to go to the north and start to push the water back out, that's the same time the water is now pushing in from the Gulf of Mexico. That's why we're telling people Tampa could have epic flooding, but it's going to happen a couple of days after our flooding when the storm is lifting to the north. This is Monday at 12 p.m. Let's talk about rain and the rain track. Now, wherever the track is, that's where we're going to find the heaviest rain. Now, we're still talking about yellows in here for parts of the area, especially from Miami south, where we could have 5 to 10 to maybe 10 to 15 inches. But there's going to be a swath wherever that eye goes, where we're in that orange coloring of 15 to 20. This model is a little more conservative than the next model I want to show you. This one is pretty serious, and actually it looks like, here it comes, it's actually updating itself right now. There you go. This is what I wanted to show you. It's been building off of a new model. This is our GFS model. Now, for Miami, kind of in that yellow to orange area, so it's, again, that 5 to 10 to 10 to 15. But you get into southwestern Miami-Dade County, Homestead, Kendall, you're starting to get into that red area where you could have 15 to 20 inches, and there could be a bullseye right over Marathon, and I would extend this to Key West as well, where we could have 20 to 30 inches of rain, and that doesn't take into account, of course, the wind and the storm surge. That's why we're telling people that Key West, Marathon, these are simply places that you do not in any way want to be during the duration of this storm. All right, this is our local rain model, and it's actually building off of a new model right now. Specific numbers for specific cities, it's going to be tough. It's more of a general rule I want you to look at. 10 to 15 inches for much of the area. I think southern areas, Miami and South, will end up getting more rain. Northern areas, Fort Lauderdale to Pompano Beach up to West Palm, maybe slightly lower amounts. But I would say on average 10 to 15 inches. Farther south you go, the higher amounts. And then you get into the Keys. I simply think there's going to be more than this in a couple of spots, but 17.26 for Marathon might end up being okay. Key West, wouldn't be shocked at 15 to 20. If that one bullseye can work into Marathon, we might have a spot along here where we have 20 to 30 inches of rain. Now let me time out the storm hour by hour. Saturday, 12 p.m., center of the storm, just making that turn out of Cuba, and this is our current hour. We're beginning to see that onshore flow. We're in a high tide right now, so we're going to get a little bit of flooding. Low tide should push some of that water back out. Going to advance to 6 hours, 6 p.m. For everyone watching right now, I think this is when it's going to start to really feel like a tropical storm out there. We're getting into the core of the storm with those outer bands. We're going to have on and off showers throughout the evening. It's not going to be a steady rain, but you're going to get a squall. Winds kick up, rain kicks up. This is midnight. Could have some heavy bands coming in, all that water getting pushed into Miami for the storm surge. And you've got the eye right here, just about to get close to Key West. Figure landfall about 6, 7, 8 a.m. So there you go. There's Key West. This is 6 a.m. They are just getting absolutely pounded. Key West to Marathon. Where that eye directly goes, this is still going to be devastating for Key West. The only thing right now that Key West can hope for is that the eye goes slightly west or east. The reason why, around the eye is the eye wall. It's the most destructive part of the hurricane. And if the eye goes right over you, first you get the northern eye wall, then you get the southern eye wall. Talking to people who lived through Andrew, especially in Homestead, they got the northern wall. It did some damage. They went outside. It was calm. They knew the next one was coming, and it was the second one that probably had the tornadoes that wiped out everything. So you get both eye walls if the eye goes over you. As far as storm surge, Key West, you know, this is historic. You're going to get a storm surge from every angle at every part of this storm with 2 high tides each. This is 12 p.m. Sunday. Eye just now north of Key West. Still seeing very heavy rain. Miami up to Fort Myers now, and it's still that onshore flow. And this, I think, if I had to pinpoint the worst hour for this storm in Miami and Fort Lauderdale, it is tomorrow at 12 p.m. We've got the storm generating the worst winds. We've got a high tide, and we still have a ton of rain. And at this point, Key West is just getting pounded. 6 p.m. Still seeing an onshore flow. Remember a couple of days ago we said we want the storm to go east? At this point, if the storm was east, we'd already be getting the water pushed out, but it's west, so we're still getting an onshore flow. This is bullseye, by the way, for Fort Myers. Monday midnight. All right, things are starting to let up. This is midnight into Monday morning. Things starting to let up, a couple of outer bands. And watch what happens. I think I have one more frame. All right, this Monday, 6 a.m. You're going to wake up. It's breezy. Maybe some showers, but it's the counterclockwise wind is going to start pushing everything back out. We're on the dry side of the storm now. So when you wake up Monday morning, I think the worst will be over, and you're going to start to feel that northwesterly wind, and it's going to feel a lot different outside. At this point, Jacksonville getting hammered. Storm continues up to the north, and there you go, Monday 6 p.m. We've got a tropical storm possible right over metro Atlanta. This is 11 p.m. as well, so they're about to get some heavy rain. What to expect for Key West? Tropical storm force winds have arrived. Sunday, tomorrow morning, 7 a.m., 167-mile-per-hour gusts. Storm surge from every direction. Each one possibly has 2 high tide cycles. 13 to 15 inches of rain possible. And real quickly, I want to show you our high tide times here. We've got one that just passed 11:37. So 5:14 p.m., we're back to a low tide in Miami. I think that will keep the afternoon flooding at a minimum. Water really going to start piling in tonight at 11:51 p.m. So just before midnight, we've got a high tide. I think it gets serious. Low tide, maybe the water recedes a little bit. This is our bullseye right here. Sunday at 12:26 p.m. We've got the storm on the latitude of Miami. We've got the onshore flow, strongest winds, at least tropical storm force, maybe 58 plus, possibly hurricane gusts, and that high tide. So I think for storm surge, this is going to be the worst time. Key West storm surge, it's all the time. It's for the next 24 hours that we're going to be seeing the storm surge. I know a lot of people love Adam Berg's computating where the storm surge is, where it's going to be the worst. He's doing his best to get every community. I know he'll do more of that coming up in just a bit. But for now, let me send it back over to you guys again right here. I think I want to keep this one in mind. 12:26 p.m. tomorrow. I think that's going to be maybe when the storm surge is the worst.
That noon time.
Yeah, well, and Steve, I'm glad that you said that, because that's what I think a lot of people were wanting to know was the timing. When are we going to see the worst?
Is this a night event, day event?
Exactly.
Right.
So again, right around noontime tomorrow, the worst of it, it seems, at this point in Miami-Dade and in Fort Lauderdale as well.
I want to go over to Senator Marco Rubio. He was speaking from the Miami-Dade EOC, talking about the 2-county area is not in the cone, but we should still take the storm very seriously. Take a listen here.
And I think I'm speaking to, because everybody knows someone like this. Everyone becomes some sort of amateur meteorologist, right? They tell you, you see it on Facebook, oh, we're out of the cone. Number one, the people that establish that cone will be the first ones to tell you that cone is the cone about the center of the storm. That is not the storm and its impact. Number two, a tropical storm winds, which we are projected with great certainty to be impacted by, those are serious winds. That stuff blows off tiles, it knocks down trees. Don't be the guy that gets killed by the tree, all right? Every year we have it, the guy that's standing around, the tree falls on their head. Don't be the guy or the gal that gets killed by the tree. Don't be the person. Number three, people, I'm going to take off into the street. Where are you going? Everything's closed. If you don't lose power, that's great. It's a great time to get it home, catch up on Games of Thrones, whatever it's called. I haven't watched it myself, but it's just if you're in the shelter, just ride it out at this point. Where are you going? And I think it's important for us to know that.
There you go.
You get Game of Thrones, you heard it. Catch up on your binge watching. More than 137,000 hotspots right now are available for everybody to use through Xfinity and Comcast. And that includes non-customers free of charge. You don't have to be paying for anything. So for a full list of those locations, more than 100,000 of them, just log on or head over to NBC6 News and Weather app. You can download that from our website, NBC6.com, and you'll find the link right there under the Hurricane Irma section. And that Xfinity through Comcast, that Comcast is the parent company of all of us here at NBC6.
A reminder to you, Broward County under a curfew starting at 4 p.m. I want to get over to Tony Pipitone because he is in Broward County in West Park checking on conditions there.
Morning, and quickly people could hear the flames, see the flames, and come to the rescue. This man was visiting next door, and sir, you saw fire, and what did you do?
Yeah, I heard people screaming, and there were some people trapped in the back. So we had to go and remove the window shutter and break the window. I had to use my hand to break the window, push it in, to pull like 3 people out of there.
3 people you helped pull out of there.
Black smoke, a lot of thick smoke coming out. I'm surprised they made it because the room was covered with black smoke.
Could you tell where the fire was? Or
It was in that side.
on the back right?
Yeah, but the people came up on this side. I think there's a room in the back on the other side.
Yeah.
That we had to break the window to put them out because the window was. We had to break the second window because it slides up. So the second one had to break it to pull people out because the first one you couldn't get people out of there the way it was.
And inside was another man who also hurt his hand as he tried to break a window to get out. We spoke to him just moments earlier.
I see people say fire, fire. If I try to go back door outside, I see outside light, fire start outside. I break my window in my hand. I break window, I come out.
Others who escaped now gathering across the street, thanking God they're alive. With us here are two commissioners from West Park, Felicia Brunson and Christine Judikas. What's the bottom line here? What started? How many people were in there? And what's happening now?
We believe it was started by an electrical circuit overload. And there were about 15 or 16 individuals in the house at the time, all of which have gotten out safely. And now we're coordinating with Broward County to get them into a shelter and the Red Cross to get them necessary supplies.
And Commissioner Brunson, you came out here, you've talked to some of these folks. What did they tell you happened?
Right now, they're just in a different state right now, you know, dealing with the hurricane as well as dealing with a house fire. They've simply lost everything. They have someone that's in the hospital now. So I just think that they're just kind of bewildered right now, everything that's going on. So we're just trying to assist the family as much as possible.
Is that why there were so many people there? Because they were using that as a safe place for the hurricane?
Yes. Their families were, it was multiple families there. So we're dealing with about 16 people. And like I said, Christine mentioned, we're working with different agencies to try to find them housing right now.
All right, so an electrical overload caused in a house that had 16 people in it, gathered there because of the hurricane. The fire not necessarily related to the hurricane, but clearly happy everyone got out, because if they hadn't, there could have been a really huge loss of life here this morning in West Park. Reporting from West Park, Tony Pipitone, NBC 6 News.
All right, Tony Pipitone in Broward County. So we're going to stay in Broward County for a quick second here and get you out to Melissa Adon. She is live on Hollywood Beach. And Melissa, we've been talking to you throughout the course of the day. Yes. You've been talking with various people, but all of that is going to change at 4 o'clock when that curfew kicks into place.
Correct, Eric. So the best example I'm giving to folks who ask me there, and everyone's dying to know, what does my wind meter app, the wind meter here is, what is it reading? I have an actual meter and it's reading right now 24.6. And this was just right now, we're getting a new gust. It's actually going up right now. So I tell people, if this is what 20 to 25 miles per hour winds feels like, double it. Imagine how this feels times 2. Then you're talking about your 50 miles per hour winds. You can check out there our palm trees. That's what it looks like when the winds are blowing at just 25 miles per hour. I'm already standing sideways so I can have a good grip here to explain this to you all. Imagine when you double it. I don't think many people are going to be out here when it's 50 miles. All right, triple it. Imagine how it'll feel with 60 miles. That's just the perspective people are, you know, I'm trying to share to people. I've had a lot of families almost out here laughing. Okay, that's fine, laugh. But again, when it's a little bit more than that, you all have to be careful. And a lot of these people will be told to go to go home because there is a curfew at 4 o'clock. So definitely important to keep that in mind, that in Broward County, where they're going to have that curfew at 4 o'clock. We've already seen Hollywood police out here trying to tell people that and explain to them that. Now look at these waves. That's what's coming in right now. Again, I'm going to put up my wind meter again, up here again, and watch as it goes up. And as we watch that, these are those wind gusts that are coming in. This is exactly what Steve McLaughlin was just talking about. These are those wind gusts that are starting to come down here. So that's what we are watching here. Again, we have been sustaining those good 20 to 25 mile per hour winds here along Hollywood Beach. And again, what we're also seeing is that sand. That sand, I've been feeling it pushing into my legs as we're standing here. That is going to be the big problem with beach erosion. That is always a problem from hurricanes. So I'll toss it back to you guys, all right? And now it just started raining. See you guys.
Melissa, thank you for that. City of Miami EOC is starting their news conference. Let's head over.
Okay.
Well, good afternoon. Yesterday at noon, I signed a declaration of emergency in the city of Miami. That allows the city manager to take measures. One of the measures that the city manager has already signed is to establish a curfew within the municipal boundaries of the city of Miami, beginning today at 7 p.m. and ending tomorrow at 7 a.m. Within the powers of the emergency declaration, the manager can establish a curfew, and the police can stop people to ask them what are they doing in and about the city. The reason to do that is because we know of several areas of the city of Miami without electric power as of now, and we expect more in the next hours. There's also the concern of high winds, and of course the police will be outside within the city as much as they can, but we feel that there are many houses that are empty because people have gone to other places, and we need this kind of order so we can protect the residents and, of course, the first responders of the city of Miami. En el día de ayer, nosotros firmamos una declaración.
All right, that is Tomás Regalado, the City of Miami mayor, who, by the way, has been out of town. He just got back into town, and that's why this is the first news conference that we're seeing this week from the City of Miami. Just announced that there is going to be a 7 p.m. curfew until 7 a.m. We know that Miami-Dade County Mayor is not going to be doing a curfew, but City of Miami is curfew 7 p.m. Also, Miami Beach announced their own curfew. You have that as 6 p.m.
Miami Beach,
9 p.m.
9 p.m. Broward County, 4 o'clock this afternoon. Yeah, so that's a quick list of what those curfew times are, but I have a feeling that that's not going to be the end of what the curfew list is, because they're really just trying to get people off the streets, because the longer that people stay out there, out and about, when those winds really do start to kick up, that's the more risk that they're putting the emergency responders at if something should happen. So they just want to make sure that everybody clears the streets. And we were just with Melissa Adon. She was at Hollywood Beach, and you saw all those folks back there behind her, but it won't be very long. In about 3 hours, everybody will be asked to leave.
That's right, because that 2 p.m. is when we start. In about an hour, we're going to start to feel those tropical storm winds. 40 miles per hour, that's where they start, and that was just 20 miles per hour.
So I think it gives you a really good idea of what's potentially to come. And that's just in Miami-Dade and Fort Lauderdale. We do also right now have crews headed all the way up the west coast of Florida, up into the Tampa and Fort Myers area as well. So we'll be bringing you live reports from there over the course of the next 48 hours. But I do want to mention this. Steve McLaughlin was talking a lot about the Keys. They're going to get hit. They're going to take a very bad hit, unfortunately. So you might have seen this crawl at the bottom of your screen. So I'm just going to repeat this in case somebody out there is watching this right now. They're calling it a refuge of last resort in the Keys, and that is at Key West High School gym. So hopefully everybody is out of there. Hopefully nobody watching this is going to have to use that.
But if you are listening to us and you're still in Key West for some reason, head over to that location again.
It is the Key West High School gym, and do know that they are literally just going to leave the door unlocked. There's going to be no services there. So that, obviously, with the hope that most people have heeded the warning and gotten out of there, because indeed Irma is headed for a direct hit on the Keys.
All right, let's head over to Florida City now, where Julia Bagg has been checking on the conditions there. And Julia, what are you seeing at this point at 12:49?
Shelley, you just were talking about the danger that first responders face. Here's what's happening right here. There was a fire at this townhome right here, and firefighters tell me, I just talked to them, they're trying to get to the source of the fire. We can still certainly smell some smoke and even see a little bit of smoke coming out off the second floor. Okay, and so where this is, we are just south of West Palm Drive and just west of US 1 in Florida City in this townhouse neighborhood. This has brought all the neighbors out, and you can see firefighters bringing in more tools here. We've been watching them climb ladders here. You can see them if we look over on the roof just above the garage there, as they've been very precariously making their way into the home, just trying to get to the source of this fire. Investigators tell me it looks like no one was home at the time, so that's good. No reports of any injuries here, but still a mystery. Unclear. Wow. Did you hear that, guys? They're breaking through the glass on that second floor with that pickaxe at the top of that ladder. Very dangerous work here. Right now it's not raining very hard, but I'm feeling, wow, as I'm speaking, the winds start to pick up. So you understand how that makes this job so much more dangerous for firefighters, as they tell me they're trying to get to the source of these flames and put that out. So this is their work right here. But again, the good news, doesn't look like anyone has been hurt here. It looks like these people had left for the storm. So we're going to check in on this. We'll bring you details. I'm Julia Bagg, live in Florida City. Eric and Shelley will send it back to you.
All right, Julia, thank you. Your time right now, 12:51, and our continuous coverage of Irma continues.
We are heading to Miami Beach. When you think of the iconic South Beach, Ocean Drive, that iconic strip, that is where Darryl Forges is, which looks so different now because it's boarded up. People have heeded the warnings and gotten out, except for that one guy who wanted to tie himself to a pole and ride out Irma. So hopefully somebody's convinced him in the past hour that that was not a great idea. Darryl, please tell me that.
Yeah, not a very good idea at all, Eric and Shelley. But the guy, we spoke to him earlier, he did say that if the conditions do get bad, he will not do it. So hopefully he just won't do it, period. But right now it is really busy, or not very busy. It's pretty much a ghost town, but right now a lot of people are still roaming the area. Look right here around me. You can still see people going down Ocean Drive as we speak, still walking out and about. Some people were actually kicked out of the water. Miami Beach PD went up to some people and told them they could not get in the water at the beach just because of the safety concerns. But you can still see people are still out and about right now. And also, as you just talked about, Shelley, the boards are up. They have boards up. You have everything right now completely shut down here in Ocean Drive because of what's to come in the next few hours, the next 24 hours. So that's why things are not good business-wise. But the people right now, quite frankly, they don't care. They're still going out and about, talking, having a good time out in front of the beach. But again, Miami Beach PD are urging people not to do this, as in fact, Eric and Shelley, you just talked about it, that curfew. It starts tonight at 9 p.m. and it goes until 6 a.m. Again, a curfew for right here in Miami Beach starting at 9 p.m. ending at 6 a.m. We also spoke to some people who say that right now they are going to leave, but they're still kind of concerned. Another interesting thing we saw, speaking of people doing things they shouldn't be doing, we saw one man actually go to the beach trying to do some kite surfing. You know, there are just certain things I just can't stress enough to our viewers. You've been hearing our First Alert meteorologist team all morning long telling you all just please be smart. Don't do anything crazy. And we're still seeing people just doing things, quite frankly, they should not be doing. So the gentleman was out there kite surfing, didn't really want to talk to him. I was going to ask him why he's doing it, but I mean, what's the point at this point, right? But I did speak to one man who was on the beach who told me that he actually has family that are in Cuba. You all know that Cuba's also seeing some effects from Hurricane Irma. I spoke to that man earlier about his concerns when it comes to him and his family. Take a listen.
I feel sad because I know the conditions the Cubans are living now, the poverty and all this, and I know they're going to suffer a lot of problems after Irma crossed Cuba.
Do you have any family?
Yeah, I have a sister in Havana and a brother in Camagüey. He's in close to Irma crossing Cuba.
When was the last time you spoke with them?
Pardon me?
When was the last time you spoke with them?
This morning.
This morning? What have they told you so far?
No, my brother told me that they suffered the effects of Irma, but everything is okay. Nothing happened bad.
Well, good for them. Glad that he and his sister and his brother, they are okay. But we did have a little rain falling down as you were listening to that gentleman right there in our soundbite. But also about an hour or so ago, Eric and Shelley, we saw some heavy rainfall, some severely heavy rainfall happen, but it just passed over. So that we're going to be seeing that on and off for the next few hours right now, but again, we're still catching those outer bands of that storm at this point. So some people are actually kind of paying over right now. Adam, if you pan over here right now, you still see people coming into the beach, which they're not supposed to, but we also see some people going out. Some people we spoke with walking out of here saying that, you know, right now it's just too dangerous. Well, go figure. We've been warning you for the past 2-3 days not to do this, but yeah, so it's very important that people just be safe right now when it comes to this storm. So, Eric and Shirley, let's go ahead and send things back over to you.
All right, Daryl, thank you. So Daryl Forges is in Miami Beach. We talked to Melissa Don in Fort Lauderdale Beach, and it's almost like sometimes people get lulled into a false sense of security because things like Matthew happened. Yeah. We were prepared for a big storm to hit Matthew, and then, of course, it went the other way. So please heed the warning, everybody. Get off the beach, get off the streets. Curfews are in place. We're going to be right back with First Alert meteorologist Adam Berg after a 2-minute break.
For years, I thought I was lactose intolerant. Turns out I was just sensitive to a protein commonly found in milk. Now with A2 milk, I can finally enjoy cereal again.
It's delicious like real milk, because it is real milk.
A2 milk is real milk from real cows that produce only the A2 protein.
I forgot what real milk tasted like. It was amazing. My first latte in 12 years.
It's totally natural, and having only the A2 protein makes all the difference.
It's the way milk was meant to be.
I love milk again. I can't believe it.
Oh my gosh, cereal, smoothies, coffee, everything. I missed it. I love milk. I'm so happy I found it. A2 milk. Real milk that's naturally easy to digest. Love milk again.
Food, water, internet. We need it to live.
But what we don't need are surprises, like extra monthly fees.
I See You Fee, played by legendary actress Angelica Houston.
You got me, Mark. We just want fast internet for one simple rate. For all the streaming and the shopping and the newsing, but most of all, for the this.
Internet for one everyday simple price and no extra monthly fees.
Get the power of First Alert Doppler 6000 only on the NBC6 app. Get instant alerts and track storms faster with South Florida's only live radar. Download the free NBC6 app now. Weather on the NBC6 app is sponsored by Dade County Federal Credit Union.
I usually plan my practices according to the weather. You gotta be careful if there's lightning or thunder in the area.
No delays. That's what First Alert Doppler 6000 does.
Right.
Live all the time and up to 6 minutes faster than any other radar.
It's a no-brainer.
Welcome back, everybody. 2 minutes to being at the top of the 1 o'clock hour now. We appreciate you being with us, and we appreciate you trusting us to carry you through what's to come with Irma.
We're going to stay with you through Irma.
Yep.
12:58 your time right now. And again, First Alert meteorologist Adam Berg is here. Adam, we see it right behind us here.
Yep.
First Alert Doppler 6000. Those outer bands making themselves into South Florida.
Yeah, we get these occasional little tornado warnings too, and boy, this stuff is just hauling in here. It's moving so quickly. So here's another cluster basically right through here. So that particular cell, that is moving east at about 50 miles, or moving west at about 50 miles per hour, just a couple miles offshore. This is just moments away from working on through. So we'll see what happens with this one. Then farther to the north we go. There's Pembroke Pines. 595, 95, these showers just hustling in. I don't see anything that looks too daunting as far as possible tornado warnings. We've had a couple of those already. Just some really fast moving showers here, helping to mix down some of these fast winds. Here we go, zooming up and out a little bit more. This is the next little batch, and then after that,